Good evening, everyone. I'm Pat Moore, Chair of the Quality of Life Committee. Mariama James is co-chair. Our district manager is here, Lucian Reynolds. Um, if you don't mind, if you would turn your cameras on, I would love it because I like seeing everybody. I know some of you are shy, but if you're not shy, would you turn your cameras on, please? So our first topic was going to be, for those who didn't hear, I had asked if we could get an update on the mayor's new proposed policy with homelessness in the subway, but it's going to be delayed until next month when we can get someone to come in from transit. In the meanwhile, Officer Nelson from the First Precinct, who comes every other month and sometimes every month if we have a specific issue, is here to uh, give us any updates on what's going on in the community, and also then you can ask any questions or concerns that you have. All right, so I'm going to open it up to Officer Nelson. Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you, Pat. You guys can hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right, I'll just do a quick overview of what's going on in the confines of the precinct in regards to the major crime. For the year to date, we're not doing too well right now. We're up 56.5% overall. This time, we had 327 crimes this year versus 209 at this point last year. The driving force has been grand larcenies and burglaries. We're up 88% in burglaries and 71% in grand larcenies overall for the precinct. The 28-day period, we're pretty much even with our year to date. We're up 47%, 129 crimes this year versus 88 last year. Again, both of the driving forces being grand larcenies and burglaries, most of that being in the Soho area. Week to date, we did have an improved week to date. We were 23 crimes this year versus 22 last year, so it was a 4.5% increase. We'll take that as a moral victory at this point, being that we were only one over from last year's total. So we're hoping that we're going to start to see things drop a little bit like that and start to see the crime come down to more realistic numbers. Um, Even though that our crime is up, our arrests are up. So I mean, I guess that's an overall good thing. We for the 28th day, we have 144 precinct arrests versus 126 last year. So that's a 14.5% increase. And overall, year to date, we have 360 this year versus 276 at this point last year. So that's putting us up about 30.5%. So crime goes up. At least some arrests go up to combat some of that crime that is happening. Um, we're going to have our community council meeting on Wednesday, the 30th this year. Usually it's Thursday, the last Thursday of the month, but Captain Smith is being honored by the Tri State Law Enforcement. So he's not going to be able to attend that meeting. And he wants to discuss some of the things that have been going on in the communities. I know everybody's, aware of what went on with the DC and New York combined with the guy that was involved in the shootings and was arrested the other day. So, and just kind of some things that have been happening in the command that has been like in the news and whatnot. He wants to be able to address it and give you guys his full attention. So he's going to have it on that Wednesday. We don't have any build-a-block meetings coming up. For the quarter, they're all done. So we'll start the new quarter in April. I'll get you those meetings as soon as we know what they are. Other than that, I know we wanted to get somebody from transit. I tried to get somebody from, but the program isn't officially up and running yet. They kind of have it out temporarily, so they really didn't want to have to speak on it officially until they can, officially speak on what exactly it is they're doing. I understand that, but I can try to field some questions in regard to it. I do have an understanding as to a little bit of what they are going to do, but anything that I say is not officially what may happen. They can tweak it. I'm just kind of going by what I've heard and what we've been told unofficially. So I don't have a problem conveying that as long as everybody understands that this is not an official rollout. Anything I say is just hearsay at this point. It's just to give you guys a kind of a broad idea of what it may look like.
So there are two things. First of all, is the meeting on the 30th going to be in person or hybrid or virtual?
So We're gonna do it in person. I'm gonna try to live stream it or do something with Zoom where we can have it both. I just got to get with IT, our IT bureau, to see exactly how we can do that. We get a better showing when it's virtual, but Captain Smith and a lot of people they want to get back to the normal way of doing things. He likes face to face meetings. We're going to be having uh, meetings throughout various parts of the precinct. I sent some of you, Pat, like I sent you an email on it, with that committee that they're having, that advisory committee and everything, and we're going to be doing pop-up meetings in person in different crime, high crime locations. That way we can get out there, meet the public, and go over some of the things and take your input on things that we could be doing better for the community. So he wants to have it in person this month, so we're aiming for that. And I'll do my best to try to at least live stream it for those who can.
Yeah, because you are absolutely right. We get a much better turnout with meetings when it is virtual or at least hybrid, because a
Yes.
lot of people cannot come out for various reasons.
No,
Then the
absolutely.
second, yeah, sorry. The second question was, could you just fill us in a little bit on what you know about the proposed new subway
Yeah,
homeless
absolutely.
program?
I just took notes. Let me just bring them up. All right. So, from what I've been told, it's going to consist of 30 teams that are going to go out, and they're going to concentrate on. Right now, they're concentrating on Penn Station, Grand Central Terminal, the West 4th Street Station, the West 42nd Street corridor, the Fulton Streets corridor, which will include like the Oculus and the Fulton Center. Um, they're concentrating heavily on the A and E lines, the N and R lines, and the 1 and 3 lines. They're primarily going to be out between the hours of 2 p.m. and 10 p.m. These teams are going to consist of Department of Homeless Services, Department of Health and Mental Hygiene, the NYPD. They're going to have medical professionals. They're going to have um, peer leaders and community-based providers, which is going to be like some privatized or not-for-profit groups that'll also be helping when they go to these areas. They're going to have 5 of these teams are going to be community-based uh, for homeless outreach. 12 of them are going to be for um, the medical side of it, where they're going to have the mental health and hygiene with medical staff, clinicians going, and then they're going to have um, a team for what's called end of the line, which is when the train pulls into the last station. They're going to have a team on board to go in and talk to the people who are left on the cars, which is usually vagrants and homeless. They're going to try to offer them services and let them know that this is the last stop, and is there a particular reason why you're staying on the train, and offer services that way. They feel like they can get a good outreach from that aspect. And then they're also going to have up to 12 cross agency teams, which are going to consist of basically just mixing and matching all the units that I mentioned, along with NYPD patrol services and transit bureau cops, working together in this initiative. They're also going to be enforced. Not when I say enforcement, I don't want you to think like arrests and summons. I want you to think though that we're gonna enforce. We're gonna take corrective action for the stuff that we used to do during broken windows, which was like the lying down, the sleeping, outstretched, taking up more than one seat, people who are exhibiting aggressive behavior, smoking in the subway, drug use in the subway, hopping the turnstiles. Um, our first measure is not going to be taking enforcement in the terms of summonses and arrests. Corrective action, meaning we're going to give them the chance to right their wrong, and then we're going to let them dictate how they basically how the next step goes. So if you get a guy who jumps a turnstile, they're going to be told to get out of the station and pay to come in. Their actions will then dictate how the next step goes, kind of be. So we're going to, kind of give you like a do-over, so to speak. You're smoking in the trains. We're going to, ask you to put it out. And if you don't, then maybe we're going to have to, take it to the next step. So it's something that the mayor wants to try to do to, take away that aggressive part of policing and make it more of a humanitarian type of way of dealing with things, person to person. Giving everybody that second chance and to do the right thing. And then if you don't do the right thing in the presence of the uniformed officer, then that's on you, because we gave you the opportunity. If they deem the person that's maybe medically unfit to make that kind of a choice, then we're going to have other people there to help us out with that, like the medical professionals or the peer counseling, that they're trained professionals in that. So that's what we mean in regards to that. Um, they should be rolling out soon. I know they're kind of like on an unofficial rollout right now, but we still are having patrols. Extra transit posts are being deployed, and they're also deploying on the day tour and the 4 to 12 shift from the precincts are sending extra bodies to the train stations that they cover in their in the confines of their precincts. So we are ramping it up a little, trying to keep it up as much as we can. I know, Lucian, you were talking about an incident that happened on Chambers Street. I did do a little research into that one, and if it's the one the one that I think we're thinking of, it happened on the Church Street and Chambers Street. There was an arrest that was made. It happened on the 15th at 9:30 in the morning. Somebody did display a knife, but there was an arrest made on scene.
But no one was actually stabbed?
So he made a threatening remark and pulled out the. Oh no! You know what he did? He did. There was a There was a slice to the hand and the leg, and part of the torso. But nothing serious. Nothing life threatening. Nothing serious.
Okay.
But still, an injury with a weapon. But there was an arrest made, and the case is closed. And
So wait, was it a fight or was it, an innocent
no, it was
bystander?
a somebody who was asleep on the train, and he awoke to find somebody exposing themselves in front of him, and the person then I guess some sort of words were had, and then the person who was exposing himself punched the guy in the face, and then proceeded to do these take the knife out and slash him. I guess would be the best thing. It wasn't a stab, it was a slashing. But non-threatening injuries, nothing, stitches and stuff were required, but nothing, too heinous, thank God.
And so the person who had the knife, who exposed himself, was arrested. Was he
Yeah.
charged with both exposing himself and attempted whatever?
Yeah, they hit him with a slew of charges. And from what I believe, I'm trying to. I don't think they're still in, but I don't think he was released. I don't think it was actually I don't think that the person was released right away. But now I think that they're out on bail or of their own recognizance. But I think there was I think they might have had an outstanding warrant or something that kept them in a little bit longer than the normal, like, released right away kind of thing, or desk appearance ticket. So they had to see a judge.
Thank you.
No
Vicky, you took your hand down. Did you have a question?
I did. I'm sorry. I took my hand down. That must have
Yeah.
been my mistake. Well, I just wanted to, I joined the committee tonight, and I'm glad that Officer Nelson's here. I think that I wanted to bring this up with both the committee and Officer Nelson. We have an epidemic of people riding, or messengers, or whoever, everyone, messengers, delivery people, riding on sidewalks. Not only riding on sidewalks, riding the wrong way. These are e-bike people. They're going 30 miles an hour or whatever that is. And it's getting completely and utterly out of control. I mean, the bike lane is one thing. And now, yesterday I saw someone, I swear they were going 100 miles an hour on the Brooklyn Bridge. But the point is that in Lower Manhattan, we now have an enormous influx of delivery people on the sidewalk, on the streets going the wrong way, and it's only a matter of time before more people are killed or hurt and injured. And I was wondering what we were going to do about that.
So what we've been doing, if you follow us on Facebook or Twitter, you'll see. Um, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Officer Gutierrez. He posts traffic videos on our Twitter page pretty often. Um, we've been posting all our literature on the rules of the e-bikes and rules of the road in regards to them. We've been having officers do what's called an operation initiative, where they go out and they hand out literature to bike messengers, to anybody in the public that's in the area that they're targeting. They basically target areas that we do have either a high accident prone location with these types of situations, or that we're getting a lot of complaints in. We are doing stuff. I know that it doesn't always seem, because I mean there's like 10,000 bikes on the street in downtown. We could write 100 summonses, but it wouldn't look like we were doing anything.
All right, and right, Brian, it's not even so much for you. Like, the police can only do so much. I think that this committee needs to reach out to politicians as well, where
Exactly.
giving out notices, like every remotely normal human, which is about 98%, knows they shouldn't be on a sidewalk. They know they shouldn't be riding the wrong way.
No, they don't actually know that.
Well, but you know what? Where do
I
they
mean,
go?
they don't actually, lots of people really don't know the biking rules. And
No,
it's
I know
unfortunate.
exactly. But these are delivery people.
Right.
Bike people are very little. It's delivery people riding on e-bikes 40 miles an hour. And most people can tell. But the point is that what we need is an overall hauling, a law that allows for the police to intervene before. It is going to be only a matter of time before we start killing each other on the sidewalks and people going the wrong way.
Well, Vicki,
Uh,
let me interrupt you. I'm
signals.
sorry.
Yeah,
Because
sorry.
Officer Nelson can't really do anything about it.
No,
But
but that's why I'm talking to you here tonight. And he's like, I
right.
mean,
I
I'm
mean,
lucky that he's
Betty's
here.
committee, transportation, has written a reso about it. We've had numerous conversations. It is going to be an ongoing topic. I
Okay.
think we do need to write
I'm
another
not the
reso.
only one. I'm not the only one who sees this.
Right,
That's all I
right.
wanted to
Yeah.
know. Thank you so much, Beth.
Thanks,
You,
Vicki.
Officer Nelson.
Jill,
Thank you, Vicki.
Oh, did you
Jill.
say, oh, hi.
Hi, Jill.
Hi, Officer Nelson. Hope you're well tonight. So going back to the subway plan, thinking it through, there's at least two subways that their final stop is right here in the Community Board 1 district, the E line and the 6, and there may be others.
Right.
When you start this program, it strikes me that a lot of the people on the train, when an officer goes up and saying, what are you doing, or why are you here, or why aren't you getting off, will then exit and go upstairs into the community. Is there any follow through outside of the subway uh, to deal with that?
I mean, the follow through, it's no, like if they do exit the terminal, I mean that they did their job, so to speak, as far as getting them off the train. But it's more going to be these teams are going to be more. It's not really going to be the NYPD doing that. It's going to be the mental health and the medical professionals that are going to be doing that portion of it. Because it's more they feel like they're going to be able to reach like people who stay on the train. There's usually it's because maybe it's too cold outside and they just want to they'll rather stay on the train for a half hour waiting for that
Of
train to
course.
start its new route
Yeah.
than so they feel like they may be able to get some one-on-one time with them and not make them feel so watched at that moment, because most people will have deboarded the train. So that it's something that I guess the powers that be that came up with this plan, they feel that they'll be able to get a better showing and a better use of their resources by adding this portion of it. It's not going to be the total sum of what's done, but it's just another tool in their on their tool belt to use to try to get as much. The goal is to get as many people that we can that are undomiciled and are in need of medical attention, the help that they need, because a lot of people feel, and us included, that people, when they're on their meds and they're in their right frame, they make better choices, and hopefully better choices means less of these irrational crimes that are happening for no apparent reason, except for the fact that it just seems that the person is not altogether there, and
Yeah,
could
no,
maybe
I agree. I understand and I agree with that. I'm just concerned about the impact, if any,
And
that would be on.
Jill,
Yeah.
Jill, next month when we actually get someone from Transit who is, who talks about the program in greater depth, then I think you should ask that question again.
Will do. Thank you. Thank you,
Great,
officer.
thanks,
you're
Jill.
welcome.
Mitch?
Hi. Before I ask Officer Nelson something, I just wanted to tell Vicky I echo her sentiments 100%, and I invite her to come when this topic comes up to the Transportation Committee to lend your voice. And so before I ask my question, Officer Nelson, when the obvious, just on the bike thing, obviously, I wouldn't want you to give tickets to like 1,000 people and all that type of things. It's not practical. But just like when you have there's a drunk driving stop and then somebody gets a ticket that's really egregious, the word gets out. So if there's somebody if one person gets a ticket who's going 30 miles, 25 miles an hour the wrong way, like around corners, especially at night, and I've almost been hit many times, the word gets out. And Pat, while many tourists might not know the rules, whether you speak the language or not, if I'm in another country, I know I can cross against the light or with the light within a day. So they know what's going on. It's just a matter of, it's like the 15-minute rule that some of the politicians are trying to get away with to react against on delivery services, because it causes the
And
delivery
Mitch,
people.
I wasn't saying it as though I'm making an excuse. What I'm saying is that I think there needs to be a citywide program that, actually constantly reinforces telling
No,
people what the rules
I
are.
do, but because we've been talking about this and for years and years before those geographic committees, especially the places around where I live, if there's the egregious person, Officer Nelson, to get a fine, word spreads with all of his co-workers and everything like that, and then people, there's a red camera light, and so ahead of time to slow down. The other thing I just wanted to ask you on a lesser note, you mentioned a lot of the quality of life crimes that you're going to be doing, and I love the fact that there's going to be a second chance, but you're going to not ignore it. I've noticed a big increase in people taking their dogs on a leash, like they're walking to the park, not a dog in a little basket like Toto. I mean, people, there's no fear in taking your dog, a middle to big size dog, including I think pit bulls, like on a leash, and daring somebody to say something to them. So if you can just include that in your polite persuasion with the quality of life things, I just wanted to bring that to your attention.
I could definitely bring that up as a concern. That's what we're having. That's community complaint.
Yeah.
Again, I don't have any say on what does and doesn't
I
get.
know, but just like the other things with
Yep,
it's that, to me, that's more egregious than somebody taking up 2 seats as far as the a possible problem,
Yeah,
but
no,
I did a lot. Thank
absolutely.
you.
Thanks, Mitch. Officer Nelson, on that note, we've also had quite a few, well, not quite a few, we've had some complaints about the increase of dog feces. What does an officer do if they see someone walking their dog and they don't clean up?
So technically, it is that's what's called an environmental control board summons, an ECB summons. It may have moved to an oath. You might be able to write an oath summons now too for that, because that's a non-criminal summons. Unfortunately, it's just one of those things. It even happens on our precinct block. It happens way too much on our precinct block, believe it or not. It's one of those things that you can enforce it if you see it. If you don't see it, and
But are the officers instructed to actually enforce it if they see it?
it's not something that we've normally enforced on a regular basis. It was kind of one of those things where if somebody was doing something and that's what you can get them on, like, and you needed to make a point, you could use it, but like it's not something that an officer goes out every day and would try to enforce. It's
Just
more.
just want to say though, it is a quality of life issue,
Oh,
and
absolutely.
yeah,
And like now that we're doing this and we're aware of it, that's something I can bring up to the captain and to our special operations lieutenant and say that hey, these are the concerns of our community. What can we do about it? Is it something that we can do something about, or is it something that I'm gonna have to tell them, hey, listen, we're gonna have to figure out an alternative way to deal with it, not summons
great,
or anything like that.
great, thank
But we can
you,
definitely bring it up.
thank you. Diane, Dime.
Hi. Um, oh, I guess two things. One about the bicycles. This is not in the officer's purview, but somebody I know said they'd gone to visit Evanston, Illinois, and there they had like very clear signage on the sidewalks and where the bike lanes are, about not riding on the sidewalks. And I haven't seen that in our sidewalks. So, I mean, I think that could be part of, handing out seems to have no effect.
Yeah.
Um,
Let's make that part of our bicycle discussion when we have it.
But my other question is, I have a neighbor has complaints about and it seems to be an apartment in our building that these people have very loud parties, and she's complained to management. And I don't know. She said she's also made complaints to talk to somebody at the precinct, but I don't know what recourse do you have. She said the noise is a health issue because it keeps her up and
So
it
yeah.
sleep.
So we have had many of these types of problems, and we were having them a lot when COVID was really like new, and no like bars and restaurants weren't open. We've seen that a lot. So we can deal with it if as long as we can get in the building, and once we're in the building, we can knock on the door, but they don't have to let us in. And just because there's loud music doesn't give us the right to go in, even if they do open the door for us. Like we still have to stay at the doorway. So we can ask them to turn it down. Um, Again, a lot of that power, unfortunately, was taken away from us. And that doesn't benefit you, or it doesn't benefit the community, but that's the unfortunate realistic goal. So with situations like this, a lot of it is because the laws were rewritten or they were officially dropped from from the penal law system, and we can't enforce it. So they're making us play by the rules more now. So unfortunately, when that happens, a lot of the stuff that we were able to address became, we weren't able to do it the old way. So now we have to come up with new, innovative ways to do it. It just takes a little bit longer. So in situations like that, we've had like what we call like a march operation, where we feel like it might be like an illegal club or party system going on, where it's not just some teenager throwing a house party because his parents are away. It's like an every weekend type of thing. We'll get Department of Buildings involved, we'll get FD involved, we'll get the State Liquor Authority involved, and we'll go and we pick a night that we try to get something on social media on them, some sort of thing where we get like an advertisement that they're doing something in that building, and then we'll pick that night usually to go in and they'll levy the fines. It really isn't an NYPD operation. We're just there to make sure that everybody's safety is secured. It's really like the State Liquor Authority and the Department of Buildings and FD that go in and do their thing, because it's an unpermitted event.
Do you
Okay, 'cause
suggest that the resident call 311 every time the party happens and get a complaint number?
311 or 911?
So so now 311's has been a big hot topic, at least in Manhattan. Captain Smith has been making our supervisors call back every 311 complaint. So, and they have to submit a report at the end of their shift. So I know a lot of our 311 calls are getting, they're getting the attention that they need because they need to submit this report at the end of the day. What I have been finding, and I'm not calling anybody a liar, I'm certainly not calling you a liar, is that we've been getting a lot of people telling us that like their neighbor or their friends are calling, and then I go back and I run the address or I run the location, and there are no 311 or 911 calls. So I think a lot of people are saying that they're doing certain things and they're not actually doing it. Because there's a computerized record of every 311. I can bring up every 311 call for like the last 10 years. So
Diane, I know
Yeah.
we always ask everyone to make a 311 call. I don't care if they have to
that's
call
the best
every
way to do
weekend.
it, because even if it
But
doesn't get
311 would not go out, it's not an immediate response. I
no
mean,
no we get the when they forward them to PD, we get them immediately.
the 311 call,
Yep.
okay, so you don't recommend calling 911, you recommend calling 311.
It depends. If it's 3 o'clock in the morning and you can't sleep, to me that's a 911 issue. But if it's just something that's you just want to alert us to, then it's a 311. But if it's something that's causing a nuisance, an alarm, an annoyance, then yeah, to me that's harassment. That's a 911 type of call.
Can I ask you a question about that follow-up, Brian, Officer
Sorry,
Nelson?
I'm sorry, Mitch. We have people with their hands up, and we only have 10 more minutes, and we gotta move on. If we get all the other, I'll come back. I'll circle back to you. But Gerald is up next. No, I'm sorry.
You have my email.
Diane, are you finished?
Yeah, I'm, I just wanted to know what recourse, apparently, from what I hear, it's a recurring situation. It's,
So have
Diane,
them
if you
call
want to email
311.
me, I don't want to ask you your business, on a public forum. If you want to email me your address and everything, I'll look into it.
okay, I can ask it's not, I don't hear this, one of my neighbors hears it.
Yeah.
Before.
If you want to email that to me, I'll look into it for you.
Yeah, and
Oh.
if you want to if you want to send it to me and I'll loop in Brian, make it easier, then we can chat, because I think maybe DEP might be able to measure sound.
EPA. Yeah.
Yeah. I think we should have to keep thinking about it, but yeah, I definitely.
What's your email, Officer Nelson, then?
It's my first name dot my last name NELSEN.
So it's Brian dot Nelson.
NELSEN at NYPD.org.
Thank you.
You can communicate with Lucian, Diane.
Okay.
Great, thank you. And so Gerald's next.
Thanks, Pat. I wrote a few of these down. I want to respect Officer Brian's time here, as well as the committee and some of the attendees. But a couple of things. First, I want to mention about this issue with the bikes and also the dog excrement up and down the streets these days. And I just want to encourage that maybe quality of life and transportation can work together on the bike thing. This is also something that obviously we want to keep our police force doing the jobs that they need to be doing, rather than, I don't want to say doing something more mundane like writing tickets for somebody not picking up their dog poop. But nevertheless, maybe this is something we can all work together, and I don't know where it goes with signage, but this is something I've said at Transportation Committee, especially at the city docks. They say that they have signage on the bikes themselves, but there are recently, over the last couple months, one of the things I've noticed are a number of real estate companies and private entities have been slapping these large stickers on the ground, on sidewalks. Why can't City Bike do that? That just a large bicycle with a big, red mark through it, telling people don't ride on the bike, especially when the docks are on the sidewalks. People assume they can mount the bike on the sidewalk, coast to the nearest
Gerald, I
street,
hate
and
to
keep
do this.
riding.
I
That's
totally
okay.
agree with you, but can we have,
Yeah,
well,
I
can we,
just,
yeah.
well, yeah, thanks,
Let's
Pat.
get things
What
that
I want to
Officer
say is
Nelson-
maybe transportation and and quality of life can work together with
We
the
will.
city, come up with signage, be open to what the police can help out with as well, and with signage too, with the dog excrement. We have for example, in Paris, they got little brass plaques in the sidewalks that tell you to curb your dog. So maybe we could do that. Finally, bringing it back around to homelessness, a question for Officer Brian here. As neighbors, I mean, we're over on Greenwich. We have several homeless up and down the street here. Typically, they nobody bothers anybody. In fact, we consider them neighbors. We help them out. What can we do as neighbors to encourage folks to use the shelters. And, you know, I understand people don't like to go into the system. They don't like to go into shelters sometimes because of rules, regulations, you know, hours, whatever. But, you know, what can we do as neighbors to support these folks?
I mean, you could just do what you're doing, which is just, offer them support, offer, a kind word on a cold night. If you can give them a blanket or a sweatshirt or, cup of soup, a cup of hot chocolate, a coffee, it, there's a thousand different schools of thought when it comes to the homeless and what works and what doesn't work. You know, just treat them like you'd want to be treated. And, you know, let us know if you think that something needs to be attended to. Like I said, the process is a little different now, but I mean, I can't tell you the amount of DHS referrals I've made in the last 6 months. And we've done it with the NCOs. And they go out on them. They do go out on them. And even when we feel like they're ignoring us from DHS, we'll get one of the non-for-profit organizations involved. We use the Bowery Recovery all the time, along with the Downtown Alliance. The Downtown Alliance is great when it comes to the homeless. They go out on joint operations with BCR like a couple times a month. Dave Harvin, Ed Drivick, they're really good with stuff like that, and they give us updates, and we give them locations. I just, and everything that was going on with the DC shooting guy, I reached out to all the bids to get the, top homeless locations so that we can do our outreach and get the word out fast that shelters are taking in more than they up their numbers. So, and that, you giving them, an updated list of all the places that they can go to if they don't want to go with us. They were great in that. So it's just, like I said, just getting, letting us know, where you think we need to pay our attention to. We get most of our information through you guys, either through 911 calls or meetings like this. And then we try to do our best to accommodate, as many complaints as we can. We don't always get to everything. There's only so many hours in the day, but we try to. And, like Pat and Lucian will tell you, I have like a running list that I keep, and I'm not always quick about it because there's other things, but I always get back to them, with stuff, or try to hit a topic again, when I know that it's being ignored. And we're never going to have it perfect. We just keep trying to improve and just keep doing what you guys are doing. You guys say that you consider them neighbors, then treat them like you would your neighbors and like you'd like to be treated by your neighbors.
And also, Gerald, if you have,
Thank you.
if you would like to have someone go out and speak to those neighbors of yours, please let Lucian know the location, and he will, alert Officer Nelson, but also alert DHS or whatever agency needs to go out. So please let us know. It's something that's an ongoing topic of ours. All right.
Wonderful. Thanks,
Anything
Pat.
else? Are you done?
I'm done.
Finished
Thanks.
for
That's
now?
it.
Please
Thank you.
please come to our meetings. Mariama.
Hi, Brian.
Hi.
Got stuck in another meeting. I'm actually driving now. So this may have been asked, and if it has been, I apologize for the duplicate. Has anyone inquired about the stabbing that was in front of Pace, and the one on Chambers Street over like the past couple days?
So I went over the one on the Chambers Street one. There was an arrest made. The person got slashed 3 times in 3 different locations. There was an arrest made on scene. So that case is closed. I tried looking for the one by Pace. I didn't see any reports for it, and I ran it for the whole year just to make sure that
Okay.
it was something that might have slipped through. There was nothing in that area for a violent crime. I checked Spruce Street, Beekman, um, Park Row, and
Yeah.
we had nothing that was on file. So if it happened, it could have very well have happened, and the person just went to the hospital and did not alert police. Or if it came over, say somebody heard about it on the Citizens app, it might have come over like that, but it wasn't really that when we got to the scene.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem.
Jimmy, and then Detta, and then we're going to open it to the public for just 1 or 2 questions because it's 6:40. Jimmy, you're muted. Start
Sorry
again.
about that. No, I was just going to follow what Gerald said about what we can do as neighbors. We can start thinking differently. You know, we have an opportunity to have shelters down here, right in our district. Instead of opposing it, let's make it better. Make these shelters like, you know, really a safe place for the homeless people and also the mental health people. I took care of a homeless person last week in a hospital who was actually attacked. He's a victim. I mean, he's actually the one who got attacked. And then, but the minute he got to the hospital, you know, he was deemed to be like crazy, and he was admitted, and then and committed, like meaning involuntary. And the thing just keep escalating. And the cops would call and everything. He was treated very, very, in my opinion, very badly. And then I was called to fix his nose, and he was just surrounded by all these people, you know, like, and he's now a psychiatric patient. I send everybody aside. I walk in there and I say, "Sir, can I help you?" And I say, "Yeah, I'm here to get my nose fixed." I said, "Okay, can I fix it?" He said, "Yeah." He's like, "You're the only person talking sense." And really dawned on me that the system is actually crazy. We have a crazy system that's not capable of taking care of the homeless, not capable of taking care of the mentally ill. And since we are given this opportunity, let's do it different from our neighbors in the Upper West Side, the Upper East Side. They want to build shelters here. Let's build it, but build it better. That's what I have
I
to say.
agree. And this goes back to your topic that we're going to keep revisiting, Jimmy. But we have to move on. So do you have a specific question for Officer Nelson? Yep. Did I lose you, Jimmy?
Oh, Officer Nelson, he actually helped me.
I was
One of
just
my
gonna say
patients,
that was you that the
that's
other
right.
day.
One of my patients got attacked. I'm like, she called me and said, "Dr. Song, I'm sorry I'm late for the appointment. I got attacked at the Oculus." I said, "Did you report the?" Said, "No, no, no. The homeless person kind of, you know." So this was an Asian female. So I said, "Okay, come to my office, and I'll take care of it." So I called Brian, and Brian came and took a report because we need these statistics. Most of these attacks against Asian women are not reported because they're just happy that they survived. Well, what kind of this is District 1, right? This is the Oculus, right? This is a World Trade Center, right? So thank you so much, Brian, for coming by my office.
My pleasure. I'm glad we could assist.
Okay. And like I said, Jimmy, we'll keep revisiting your topic because you brought this up last month. And so we'll keep revisiting it. But we got to move on. So, Data. Hi, Data.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. So I just wondered more about the 311 system that you said the NYPD and how they're tracking their responses, and they have to give some report also to their commander.
My commanding officer has implemented that. I'm not saying that all precincts do that. That's what he's doing because he's very community oriented when it comes to handling things. He wants to make sure that the people that we serve are happy with our service. So he's doing that to make sure that the 311s aren't getting ignored, because in the past that's been a topic of a problematic topic was that they were getting ignored a lot of times because 911 calls take precedence, and then the 311 calls never got to. So he implemented this system where we have basically that if the 311 call is made, it's going to get, in a timely manner, it's going to get tended to.
Just I work in the 311 system at a different agency, and I'm responding to the inquiries that come into 311 that are directed to my agency. And we use Microsoft Dynamics, and it tracks everything. It tracks your response. It tracks who did the response. It tracks what the response was. It tracks if you escalated it or if you put notes to the customer or. So I wondered if NYPD also uses that system.
I'm not sure what the system is that they use. I know that they do have to put a final disposition and then notes in. I'm not sure if it's Microsoft Dynamics. It's just whatever the system that is on our homepage. Like we click the 311 icon and it brings up that system. So I'm not 100% sure what it is though.
Yeah, because the system I work in, there is no wiggle room.
Yeah.
Like everything is very transparent, at least within the agency, and tracked. So
right.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Data. So, Lucian, first of all, before I get back to Mitch for one last question, is there anyone from the public that had any questions?
That I can see.
Okay,
If you're in the
so
public
Mitch,
and you're on the phone, you want to raise your hand, it's *3.
okay, in the meantime, Mitch, I promised I'd come back to you,
That's-
so,
Officer Nelson, in response to one of the questions you said, like if there's a noise, like a terrible noise complaint at 3 o'clock in the morning, you're not allowed to. It's not a club. It's not an illegal club. It's just a neighbor from hell. You're not allowed to, come into the apartment. They don't have to listen to you. So basically, can they just say, "F you, too bad. I'm not going to stop," or like, what would be what is a recourse that the person say that's dealing with that?
So yeah, technically speaking, right? They could say that to us. They can close the door on us, but hopefully you get an officer who's a little, uses his head a little
Also,
bit. There's always a way around things, right?
okay.
Because so you make it uncomfortable for them then.
Right. And then the other thing, Pat, just wanted to I think his name was Gerald. I agree, Gerald, with everything you said. And I just my focus, and I think Vicky's focus, not on city bikes. It was really like the e-bikes that are going 20 miles an hour on the the wrong way, that could cause crippling or or fatal injuries. I'm
Yes,
not talking about the city bikes really like
yes,
that.
yes, exactly. They know what they're doing,
Yeah.
riding the
all right,
road.
just remember, Officer Nelson's time, he's got to go. He's
That,
on duty, and
uh,
we will get back to talking about bikes. So if there aren't any questions from the public and we've finished with the committee, we have someone here from sanitation, so we need to move on. Brian, as always, thank you so much for being so gracious. You give us a lot of time. You always get back to us with answers. We really appreciate it. Obviously, Lucia will put in the newsletter about the meeting on the 30th, and we will see you either next month or the month after.
Great. Thank you for having
Great.
me. I appreciate
Thank
it.
Officer
you.
Nelson.
Good night. Be
Take care,
safe.
guys. Be safe.
Take
Thank
care.
you.
So we're going to move on. Our next top, we're going to switch topic 3. It's 3 is going to become 2, and 2 will be last. So 3, we have. I'm sorry. Is it from sanitation? It's Joan Burns Daly. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
How are you? We're so glad you came. Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure.
So
Excited to be a part of this. Yeah, go ahead.
I think what we'll do is we'll just open, unless you have something specific you want to tell us, we could just open it up to questions. Like you heard the discussion about the dog feces. We can just open it up to questions from the floor. I'd like to lead it off because I asked you to come. So
Sure.
one of the issues that I have is I have this big, huge television that is broken. And I cannot find online how to get it picked up to be recycled. It seems like you have to take this huge TV that I can't even lift to a recycling center. I know
That's
that
correct.
in Staten Island they can call up. Why can't we call up in Manhattan?
That was part of the budget cuts after COVID-19. And so we are only doing e-waste curbside pickup for Staten Island right now. But if you live in a building with 10 or more units, you can sign up for our e-cycle program. I don't know if that applies to you, but if there's 10 units in the building, your building management or landlord can sign up. If you go to nyc.gov/ecycle, so without the R, recycle with no R, it's ECYCLE, and we can coordinate with the building, and after the building has a certain number of electronics, a few TVs, a few whatever other items, there's a particular number that you get to, and then we come out and pick it up. So I think I would think that most of the buildings in your community board would have 10 or more units, so that should apply for us.
Not always. So if we live in a building that doesn't have 10 or more units,
Then
what
you have
happens
to bring
next
it somewhere.
And or you leave it out on the sidewalk, will sanitation pick it up?
We're not supposed to, and you could get a ticket.
That's what I
So
thought.
Pat, this is something that we can put in our letter. The CB1 is looking at different budget asks to respond to the executive budget. So we can put in a section for sanitation and say, please restore funding for e-waste pickup in Manhattan.
Yeah. Now that I think about it, I
Not just
think
Manhattan. I mean, it's all over, right? The other four boroughs are not, no one except Staten Island is getting picked up.
right. So pre-pandemic, it was the four boroughs excluding Manhattan because the way they worked out the program, I think there was an assumption that a lot of the buildings in Manhattan would have the e-cycle program and not need the e-waste at the curb because we're already picking it up. But I shouldn't speak to exactly why that decision was made. But pre-pandemic, it was four boroughs. Post-pandemic, we're down to just Staten Island. And you do have the e-cycle option. Our special waste disposal site is in your district, I believe, down on Pike Street. So
But you realize, I mean, I could show you this TV is
yeah,
gigundo. I couldn't even, I can't lift it. There's no way I can get it to a recycling place.
yeah,
And most people in Manhattan don't have cars. So that's
right.
the other thing. All right. Well, you answered my question, and we'll have to figure out what to do with it. I see Vicky
Pat,
has her hand up. Yes.
just to keep responding to that, I think so. It sounds like even when it was considered to be fully funded, um, with Manhattan kind of on the hook for having individual buildings organize e-waste collection. I think and if that's still an option, then we can explore what it takes to help organize those buildings to, take part in that program.
Right. Right.
So e-waste can be so tenants only have
Yeah.
to get
We'll
it.
circle back around to it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, if
Definitely.
there's something that I can provide, social media graphics or content to put in a newsletter,
Sure.
any of that stuff, I'm happy
Yeah.
to pass that along and we can
Fantastic.
get into
We'd
the
love
weeds
that.
of what you want.
I mean, first of all,
Thank
we
you,
need
Joe.
to encourage people to recycle electronics, and not picking it up is not encouraging people. But
I
again, it
know.
isn't you. It's not your. You didn't make the rule. We're not blaming you.
That's fine. No, I don't mean to sound defensive about it.
No, you didn't. You didn't. You
Okay,
didn't.
good. Um,
So
yeah, I was impressed though, after almost 2 years of not having our safe disposal events, we saw a really amazing turnout in the fall of people coming to do the right thing with their electronics and harmful products. So there were a lot of New Yorkers, who wanted to recycle those things. I'm sure plenty were dumped illegally over the course of the pandemic, but there are people who are trying to do the right thing.
good. Good. So Vicky has her hand up. Vicky's next.
Thank you, Pat.
And Miss.
So I wanted to ask you, I've reported this before. Little Gold Street between Fulton and John. And I'm specifically referring to 43 or/48 because I can't tell. No one can tell. I think it's 48 Gold Street. It's a landlord that does not put out his garbage on the right day. B, that person put out a bunch of what is it, like wood pieces and then drywall pieces on top of a grate, and it's a complete tripping hazard. They do not follow the rules. They put their garbage out all the time. And Gold Street at Fulton is a narrow street, right? It's a narrow sidewalk and a narrow street. I have requested before, but I see that they're continuously not disposing their garbage on the right day. They have stuff on the sidewalk that for some God unknown reason to me as an architect, why they're covering part of the sidewalk with something that is about 1.5 to 2 inches high, whether it be drywall or a piece of wood. And every day I walk, because I live right there, we walk by and they either have this stuff out there or they have garbage. So what that means, in essence, is that the pedestrians have to walk on the street. Gold Street is a tiny street, and we're all walking with children and pets and ourselves on Gold Street because the sidewalk is continuously occupied with garbage by what I think is
Can I just
43 Gold
interrupt you,
Street.
Vicki, for a second? Have you called 311 and logged
Oh,
a
yes,
complaint?
yes, I have. Thank
And
you.
have you asked your neighbors to do the same thing?
Well, I have, but I've done it myself. I can't remember if I have a solution on this, but I have submitted to the sanitation department, including photos. And what they did was they removed a very old piece of drywall, and for some reason they need to cover the sidewalk, whether it be a grate or not, with a piece of another drywall or a piece of wood right now. And I don't understand for the life of me why that is there. It's a tripping hazard. And then they put garbage out all the time. So we are constantly being forced to go out on the street.
So let's see if Joan has an answer for us.
Yeah, so I can happily send out our enforcement teams and
Please, I'd be so grateful for that. And all those that are walking on Gold Street.
yeah, I think I can have them try to figure out if it's 43 or 48.
I think it's 43. I asked the neighbor and he said it's not 48, but it's 43. And when I send my photos in, I made sure that I posted it. I'm sorry, I don't know who owns that part, but it's
That's
right
okay.
next to 43. Thank you so much. Most
Yeah.
grateful.
No
Okay.
problem. I'll look up the 311 complaint tomorrow and see if there was any resolutions posted in there and see what else we can do. The
Thank
only
you.
thing I could think of about the drywall or the wood on the ground is maybe they're concerned about the bags leaking and causing,
No,
you
it's
know,
over a
no?
grate. Being an architect, I can tell you, they somehow feel like they need to cover a grate. I have no idea why. You can't do that. Whatever it is, you're
Is it always there or
Yes.
it's just to
Oh,
put the garbage
always,
on?
always,
Oh,
nonstop,
okay.
24/7
I
for
see.
God knows how many months. And yes, there's no reason to have it there. It's a tripping hazard. And then on top of it, they keep all their garbage. So in the corner of on Gold, close to Fulton, we are constantly inundated with garbage that forces all the pedestrians, mothers, pets, everyone to go on the street as a result.
Okay, I will see what we can do.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you, Pat.
Mitch?
I just wanted to ask you, I've always been a big proponent of the big belly trash cans that a lot of the bids, like have sponsored. And if my memory serves me correctly, before the pandemic, I think the previous mayoral administration was trying to like check out a few neighborhoods and incorporate some of that. So I was just wondering, because I know that they're a little more expensive, but it seems to be like you save money in the long run because they reduce the rat population. So any feelings about expanding that or getting it besides the bids having to pay for it?
Not that I'm aware of. They are really way more expensive than our, regular baskets and even the other things. We are in stage 3 of our Better Bin pilot. So I don't know if you remember from a couple of years
Sorry,
ago.
I'm sorry. Someone needs to mute. I think it might be Elizabeth Lewinson, I think. I'm sorry.
No worries. You ready for me to go? Okay.
And,
Okay. Yeah, so we are in stage 3 of our Better Bin competition that started a few years ago, where we're designing new baskets for possible production that are also supposed to, lower the ability for rodents to get in there. But I haven't heard anything more about the big bellies.
Okay.
I'll take it back. If I do hear anything, I'll let the board know.
Just like I said, sometimes you pay, when I say you, I mean you personally,
Yeah.
you pay a little more and then you save money in the long run instead of keep on fixing patching the same thing. So that's just a thought.
thanks.
Thank you.
So Joan, tell us about the Better Bin competition. What is that?
So it's something that the department launched, I want to say 2019. I know it's been a while, around for a while. I'm gonna just pull up the details so that I don't speak off of the
And
what
while
it
you're
is.
doing
So
that, I don't see any, while you're looking, any
Mhm.
other hands that are up? I don't see anyone. All right, so,
so
Lucian, you want to say something?
After Joan goes.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, so in 2019, we did prototype testing where we had two different design teams that competed for bins that would be the best design, not only for preventing issues of rodents, but also for pickup, so that, a lot of the bins now, they have a door. Our silver bins that you see on the corners have a door that opens on the side and a plastic basket that comes out. This one has a lid that opens off the top. Um, and that's supposed to be an improvement. And they've done all sorts of testing and they're piloting them in different areas of the city. They were up a Museum Row for a while. Right now they're in Alphabet City. So we're just seeing what works and excited to have the possibility of a new style that might work better.
great.
Mhm.
So it's been 2019. I assume that because of the pandemic,
Yeah.
there was a delay of 2 years. Okay.
Yes.
So if you find out anything else about it, would you let us know? And also,
Certainly.
how could we get in on them testing them in our area?
Yeah, I think we've worked a lot with the groups that designed them and they kind of pinpointed the areas they wanted them in, but I will certainly keep you guys in mind to have it if it's a doable thing.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Lucian, and then I have a couple more questions about rats and the dog feces. So Lucian,
Sure.
you want to go?
Thanks. Thank you, Pat. Thank you, Pat. Joan, I just want to start. I have three questions, but I wanted to start by saying that telling the committee and all the members of the public that I recently had a chance to speak with you as soon as Joan um, took this position. She reached out to all the district managers and made herself available to speak at whatever length was necessary about concerns and issues that we had seen. And I was really just so pleased and impressed, and I just wanted to make sure she had an opportunity to share kind of her philosophy with the committee. And Joan, I want you to meet the members of this committee. It's, I think, if not the best, kind of quality of life style committees. I mean, it's a public safety committee, as you can see, but they're laser focused on improving outcomes for lives. So there's housing in there, homeless assistance, um, uh, 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 respect for better
Noise,
outcomes when it comes to
noise, dirt,
race
rats.
and there's just a lot here. So they're really great to work with, and you're obviously welcome anytime to come and join us at this meeting. So I want to give you an opportunity to kind of speak to that. The other questions I had was, one is um, if you could just tell the committee where sanitation is at with the curb lane containerization pilot that they've shown a lot of interest in the past. And then finally, um, uh, our board chair is very interested in ways that we could potentially create partnerships to help expand the composting program that sanitation is currently working with the Downtown Alliance to put forth with the bins and the tap card. We have other large institutions in our district that may be able to join in, so we can have a larger web of drop locations for compost material. So it's certainly something we'd love to speak with sanitation about, in any ways that we can help advance that outside of the Downtown Alliance catchment area. So that's all I have, Joan. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that very kind introduction. Yeah, so it was very important to me. I just became Director of Community Affairs in January, and I just wanted to make sure that I had a feel for what's going on in the city. I spent 7 years at Bureau of Recycling and Sustainability before I moved over to the Bureau of Community Affairs. So I am particularly familiar with composting and recycling electronics, so I have that background if you have recycling questions, but I'm still in the midst of learning things like containerization and rats and snow and things like that. So sometimes I might have to get back to you on those. But it is sanitation's mission to keep New York City healthy, safe, and clean. And I think quality of life committees and initiatives throughout the city completely overlap with our mission. And I'm happy to, always answer any questions you have. I know you have Jason Chen, who's one of my liaisons to Community Board 1, as well as Marissa Yanni, who's my Manhattan liaison. So they should be there for any, day-to-day questions, but I am also happy to, weigh in if it comes to budget or bigger picture policy issues. If it's things that, Marissa can pick up the phone and call the garage and say, go pick up this problem area, or let's go address this address that keeps setting out at the wrong time. My team is really well equipped to do that. So for the Clean Curbs pilot, to talk about that, that's the containerization pilot where the city accepted applications from bids from commercial entities to allow them the opportunity to put a container on the street to house their waste. I know in Manhattan, particularly, walking past piles of garbage bags on the curb is just not sightly, it's not healthy. And one of the things the department is doing is trying to think about ways to make that public space a healthier, cleaner environment. We brought on a public space initiative person this year as well. He started around the same time I did, so I might have him come and speak to you another month because he is the expert on this stuff. I know that we don't have any applications from Community Board 1 groups or businesses for the Clean Curbs pilot for the way that it's funded for this year. Not to say that one of the bids couldn't sign up to do that, or one of the businesses in the area could sign up for the future, but right now we don't have anything from your area. The idea of partnering on curbside composting was the next point that was brought up, and I'm happy to bring back suggestions to other organizations that want to partner with us the way we did with Downtown Alliance. I think our smart compost program is going to be, it seems to be really successful. People are using it. The material that we're collecting seems to be the lowest contamination that we see. When residents are composting, a lot of times, if you're just bringing it to a building where everybody's not a composting expert, you get recyclables in there, you get trash in there. People didn't think to separate it the right way. But the people who are using these smart bins are diehard composters, and they know what goes in the bin. So it's really good material to create compost, and it's going well. So please don't hesitate to reach out. You can send me an email with any organizations who want to partner with us. There's a cost, but like Mitchell was saying earlier, there's a benefit to it as well. So we're happy to partner and see what happens there.
That's great. Oh, way to go, CB1, with your clean compost.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's all I have.
Number
Thank you.
one. Lucian, did you have another question?
No, that's a good joke. No, that's it. That's all my stuff. Thank you, Pat.
So we love to talk about rats. And we had heard from, before the pandemic, we had heard about the dry ice program. Did you know about that? Maybe you don't know about that. That was from DOH. And
Columbus,
I was just gonna, sorry?
in Columbus Park in Chinatown. That was
Yeah, remember we had a whole presentation about the dry ice, and we were all excited about killing the rats with the dry ice. But Joan, if you haven't heard about it, you should actually check it out. It was really quite interesting. We loved it. But I don't know. Are rats in your purview, or should we be talking to DOH? I wanted to know if you knew if numbers were down or what was going on with the rat populations.
I don't know the numbers,
Okay.
so that's definitely a DOH question. I know the answers to the rat questions as it comes to, the types of bins that we should use, the idea that composting will reduce the rats, and, you know, um,
Right.
how we've seen some trouble with the open dining and how that has brought some more
Oh yeah.
rats.
Yeah.
But I can't tell you the
Right.
stats.
Well, check
So
out the dry ice
I will.
and the rats. It was really
Interesting.
interesting.
Pat, can I
And
just
my
say
other
give one statistic about that? What I remember when they came to us, when they did the dry ice program in Columbus Park, a big park on the border of like the courthouses by Chinatown, they said it reduced the rat population. I think they actually said almost 90% after they had done it for a while, which was amazing. They dug holes in the ground and then they put that dry ice. And I think, Pat, it was close to 90%.
Well, you had to have two. You had to have two. You had to locate the entrances because most
Right.
rats have multiple entrances, and you have to stop up all of the entrances except one, and you
But
have
do
to
you
wait
remember
until
that
they're
90%,
sleeping.
Pat?
What?
I somehow the 90% sticks in my mind because it was
Yeah, I
outrageously.
don't remember the percentage, but
Okay.
it was, it was quite ingenious. And then they stuffed dry ice in there, and all the rats die, including all the babies.
Did they come and take them out? Where did they go
Yeah.
to rot?
I
Like,
think they
Well,
try
I
to
don't
collapse
remember
the
that I don't-
holes.
okay.
What
They
was
try to
that?
collapse the nest,
Yeah.
entomb them. So it's pretty
Yeah.
macabre, but it's probably the
You know,
most
that
humane
mummy-
way to
Interesting
kill
rat.
them.
3,000 years.
Well, if we have to go
Anyway.
pick them up, is really what I'm thinking. All of my dead animal
Yeah.
complaints.
No, I don't think you had to.
Okay.
So you heard earlier, a question had come up about an increase of dog feces, and I don't know what sanitation can do about that. Have you also heard that there's been an increase of dog feces?
I don't know it from a statistical perspective. I know that you're the third community board to reach out about it in my 2-month tenure here. So that means, like, to me, that it's something. So my office has been working with public affairs on a social media campaign that we can come up with to try to remind people of their dog owner responsibilities, and that there is a fine attached. Unfortunately, it's very hard to give people a fine because you have to catch them in the act and they have to be willing to give you identification. So even with our limited number of enforcement agents, even when they do catch them, sometimes they've found that the person's not willing to give them their driver's license or identification card, and then we can't issue anything. So it almost
I know
goes.
enforcement's always the issue with any problem.
So a public education campaign would be better, and I think
That-
that's what we're going to try to do with social media.
That would be great.
Yeah, and if you want to share our social media, once it gets, the designer finishes making it look all pretty, I will forward it to you guys. And
Please,
Can
please.
I just ask a question, Pat?
I just want to say one thing, Mitch. Hold on. I think one of the issues is that over the pandemic, so many people became new dog owners, and not all of them understand the rules, and not all of them are responsible pet parents. So that is a big problem. All right, Mitch.
And this might sound like a joke question, but it's not. I didn't know that, like, if some enforcement officer asks you for ID because they saw you commit some type of civil penalty, you could just say, "I'm not showing you," and walk away. So do you know of other things that you can walk away from?
I wonder if it's just sanitation. And our officers are probably not, it's not worth going to fight with a resident
Right.
over this kind of complaint. And NYPD may handle it differently. That I believe they can also issue these summonses, so they might have a different experience. But
Well, Officer
what my
Nelson
team's
just
told
said.
us.
Okay, so this is just specific to your agency. I was just wondering if that's true for other civil, not crimes, but civil wrongdoings that you could just walk away from law enforcement and just say, like, "F you, I'm not showing you nothing," without any repercussion.
A lot of the things that we're issuing to a vehicle or we're issuing to a property. So it's a different story. You
Okay.
don't have to have that interaction with the person. You can issue a ticket to the car that didn't move for alternate side. You can issue a ticket to the property owner for the garbage or recycling not being set out correctly.
Unless it's my mother, the car, they could talk back. Thank you. All right.
You're
No
dating
problem.
yourself. Jimmy?
Oh, I just want to ask Joan, what's your social media policy? Because I own a storefront, and I can send you lots of pictures of the act with the owner and the beautiful pet. Will you be willing to post them?
Oh, so I don't know if my social media team is going to be cool with posting in the act, but I'm happy to have you send them my way and see.
Yeah, because sometimes public shaming is necessary,
They
right?
might
Especially
not be
in our
willing to
Tribeca
public shame.
area. I think it'll
They
be
might
lovely
like
to have these dog owners and, it's
And maybe,
I
Jimmy,
think
you
I
can
think
put
I
it
think
on.
it'll work. I think it'll work. I think you should
Well,
check
Jimmy,
with
you
the
know the
legal team to see
neighborhood,
if I
what's
sit
it
there
called?
all day and
Neighbors?
just take pictures of people coming out of Holland Tunnel, barfing on the sidewalk, and dogs pooping.
But Jimmy, you know
I haven't
Neighbors,
caught Taylor Swift
that
yet. I haven't
website?
caught her yet, but I will.
Jimmy, did you hear me? Do you know that
Yes.
website Neighbors or what, maybe you can post them there
Oh well,
and
I
shame
want to
neighbors.
leave it to the city. See if that can be part of the educational campaign. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll
Catching the
ask.
act.
They
Yeah.
might blur people's faces so that
That's
they can't
fine.
be seen,
That's
but
fine.
we
That's
send
fine.
out, we put on our social media lots of pictures and images of people misusing litter baskets and setting out their garbage wrong, but there's not usually the person in the picture. So it's a
Yeah.
little different story.
Yeah. But
So
people
that's
usually
the
can tell who
Tribeca,
owns them.
Jimmy.
Huh? No, just asking. Just asking. All right.
Thanks, Jimmy.
No problem.
Dada's next. Dada, you there?
I am trying to get here. Brought up fines being issued to properties. Sorry, let me get a light on. Okay, my question is, say an owner believes that you got the address wrong and you wrote the fine or the violation meant for a neighbor's property to that person. Like, what is the contact information at the DSMY for that?
So technically, it shouldn't come through us. It goes to the oath office
It
of
goes to
administrative.
oath.
Yeah, it goes to oath. So
Okay.
if you wanted to file a 311 complaint with us, I'm just going to end up forwarding it to oath.
So that it's through oath that they would then debate it with their defense and say that wasn't us, that was the neighbor.
Yep.
Okay.
And
Thanks.
one of you, or either of you, or both of you, would you explain to the public and to the committee what oath is? Because, Detta, you brought it up at another meeting.
Yeah.
What is oath?
It's the Office of Administrative Trials and Hearings.
And what do they do?
I guess it's a judicial agency that deals with violations from multiple agencies.
Correct. Yeah, that's what I would have said too.
Okay, good. So
Yeah.
at least people know what it is. Good. Thank you. 'Cause,
Right.
yeah, Detta, you brought it up at another meeting. And
Yeah, and then
a
when
lot
they
of us had never
issue-
heard of it. Yeah.
Yeah, and then when they issue a violation, it's also often called ECB, like Environmental Control Board debt. I don't really know why that becomes the name of it. But
Yeah, that's a good question. I can look into that.
Environmental
Yeah.
Control Board was like a Koch super agency that he tried to push a bunch of agencies together, but it only got like halfway there. But all their violations for like a couple of different like DEP and
right.
DOB, so whatever group of agencies are still categorized as ECB, but those all got moved
Okay.
over to Oath.
Is it ECB as in dog or ECB as in, you said budget?
ECB.
Environmental Control Board.
Yeah.
Board. Okay. Thank you.
That's great. They should have the history lesson.
We get
I had
education.
an oath commissioner come speak to, like, years back before the pandemic, Fidel Del Valle, and he gave like the whole sordid history of the environmental control board.
Okay.
So
Okay.
we might want to have them. We'll talk about that. We'll take it offline.
But
Go
now
ahead.
that board isn't really there. You mean it's now oath, but they just call it ECB debt.
The
So we may want
violation
to have.
is it's still an ECB violation, but Oath
Oh,
adjudicates it.
okay.
All right, we'll talk about whether we should have somebody come and explain it to us, just so we have information.
Okay.
Anybody else? Thank you, Dana.
Thank you.
Anybody else from the committee? Anyone from the public? No? Okay, all these sanitation issues are going to come up later when Joan is gone. All right. If
Lucha
there
knows
aren't
how to
any-
get me.
Right. If there aren't any other questions, I would like to thank you for coming. We are going to talk a little bit more about the recycling and what we could do to possibly write a reso about, the budget. Maybe, oh, Diane is just clapping. So we're going to follow up on that. And, if we have any, and you check out the dry ice. And
I
if we
will.
have any other questions, we will contact you. But thank you so much for giving us part of your evening.
My
So enjoy the
pleasure.
rest of your evening.
Thank you so much. You too. Take
Thanks,
care.
Joan. Take care.
Bye-bye,
Bye-bye.
everybody.
Okay, so the last item on our agenda, I don't know if Diane Lapson is here, but remember last month we talked about and I don't know if Mark Amoruso is here tonight. We talked about the cobblestones on 4 or 5 streets in Tribeca, that they were laid, and in a very short time they started to come up and move and shift, and that there have been several people who have fallen and gotten hurt, and one person in particular fell, and as a result of the injuries he sustained from his fall, he actually died. So we wanted to start to write a reso that we may not finish it tonight. We will extend it till next month, but we at least wanted to start to discuss and write this reso about getting it in, right, Lucia, getting it in the budget to request having these streets repaired.
Yeah, I think I think that just discussing it. I'm going to put it in a letter of comment. So we have this thing called a letter of comment that the community board will send to the Office of Management and Budget, and they'll present those letters of comment to the administration and to, I suppose, City Council. Whenever we talk about budget, something about the budget that we're unhappy with, I make a note to put it in the letter of comment. So for example, e-waste, other committees have identified other things that previous austerity budgets have eliminated, that are services that we very much have enjoyed in the past and look forward to returning. But this is another budget of austerity that we're looking towards. So we have to really make sure that we say what it is that we're missing, because it is going to be taking from one agency for another. Because I think that the city is forecasting that tax receipts will continue to be far below
What we've had in the
what
past,
we enjoyed in 2019.
because people have left the city.
Well, yeah, there's that. I think that sales tax. There may be, some bumpiness with commercial property tax if there isn't a large return to office. So, that kind of thing.
Before we go on, there's someone who just texted me that tried to raise their hand. It's a 917 number. I don't see who it is.
Yeah, I don't see anybody in the attendee list anymore.
Oh, I think it's Diane Lapson.
Oh, here we go. I'm gonna move Diane over now because this is her item.
Yeah.
So Diane, I just see you now pop back up on the list. You should be able to unmute yourself at will, turn on your camera, and also I don't know if you saw, but
it's I don't know what happened, but I raised my hand with the police officer. I raised my hand with the
Oh.
nobody was able to see me. I was able to chat with Lucian a little bit, but this was an incredibly frustrating experience.
Oh, so
Even
sorry,
the Department of
Diane.
Transportation, I had something that I wanted to say to her. Anyway,
Oh,
I'm glad that I texted you using a cell.
yeah. Next time, text me earlier.
This,
Sorry,
this
sorry.
program is this Webinex, whatever it's called, WebEx. I guess I don't know how to use it, but I can use
It's
everything
somewhat
else.
frustrating. It isn't just you, it's somewhat frustrating. But I'm glad to have you here tonight. So you heard we're going to start with your topic.
Yeah.
And so Lucian was explaining about the letter of comment about a budget item that's been removed. I was interested, Lucian, because, okay, so we wrote a reso a while ago, quite a few years ago, about the cobblestones and how they were, no longer fitting the way they should have. And the warranty has obviously expired a long time, several years ago, to the contractor who did the work. So this would mean the city that we, the taxpayers, have to pay for this work to be redone, correct?
Yes, there are no small fixes for these streets. There's likely subsurface conditions for the streets that you see that are like the surface of the moon, where it's it's more than bumpy. There's likely something going on under those streets. For the ones where it's just the cobblestone that's a ride doesn't even begin to describe it. Like Harrison. That's going to also need to be rebuilt. But to the degree that it needs to be rebuilt, that's going to take some investigation. I think DEP will likely need to look for the really crazy streets that are just up and down. They need to see if there's something leaking. There's some subsurface condition that's causing a massive depression in the roadway. But for the other streets, that could just be as simple as taking the street down to the concrete road base and reseeding all the cobble. This time with proper mortar, proper spacing, proper curing. But regardless, I mean, it's not for us to figure out what's wrong with the streets.
Right.
It's up to us to say that there needs to be a capital item to completely redo these streets. So I think what we're needing to ask for is nothing less than a complete reconstruction of the streets.
Now, so are you saying we should write this letter instead of writing a resolution?
No. Resolution, because then the letter can just be written to echo the resolution and then include the resolution. I'm a big fan of making sure we have a resolution that's clear. It sets everything up. It serves as a wonderful historical document. People know how to read them and they know to expect them. And then the letter is just like a wrapper for the resolution to get to where it needs to go.
And I don't know if you started to actually write anything because you've been so busy, but can the reso be as straightforward as streets, Harrison, Varick, I forgot the name, Franklin, I think there was a fourth one or a fifth one. Can it, that the work that was done in such and such a year, the streets are now in disrepair and need to be re-cobblestoned. Can we include that as a result of an injury sustained by a fall? A member of our community passed away. I mean, can it be as easy as that? I see that Betty and Diane Stein and Diane Lapson have their hands up. So let's start with Betty.
So I was going to say start with Diane Lapson.
Oh, Diane?
I'm sorry. Well, two quick things. So the resolution that we're talking about, the streets were replaced in 2009. Remember when they replaced all the pipes underneath and the electricity and everything. So the whole neighborhood, they took turns on all the different streets to rip up the streets. They weren't all cobblestone. Like Chamber Street wasn't cobblestone, but they ripped that street up also for a year and a half, 2 years. In 2012, the Tribeca Committee wrote that resolution, which I emailed everybody again. Lucian helped, I think Lucian helped me find that resolution, and well, I can't remember anymore what happened. We were all working on it. We found that resolution, and it lists all the streets that Mark and I mentioned. There are at least 10 streets there, including Varick, etc. But one of the concerns I have, which we didn't know about at that time, if we use that resolution as a sample, is that, you know, you've seen these things in the news where a car falls through a street in Uptown, Midtown, all of a sudden a big hole and a car just, or a truck completely crashed in. That's sinkholes.
Sinkhole.
Now, when the person from the mayor's office in 2018 took a walk with Lucian and Cora Fung, his email back to us said that he believes a lot of these are sinkholes, which they could be. If that is true, the danger goes even beyond the cobblestones being crooked. It means that there's I know on Harrison Street on the corner, on the sidewalk, we had some sinkholes. And I remember Bruce Ehrman said it was very dangerous when we have all these big high-rise buildings with a lot of weight. If there are real sinkholes in this community, we have to deal with it. So I'm concerned they're using the excuse that there's sinkholes. Someone has to go underneath, or Con Edison has to explain where their things are underneath, because this is even a bigger problem than just cobblestones being out of place. Anyway, I just wanted to say that I think we should look at the resolution from 2012 that Jeffrey Ehrlich helped create, and just read that again to refresh ourselves what the problems were, because the problems only got worse. They didn't change really. The fact that somebody died and someone else fell down, I don't even know how many other people fell down. I know my friend Bonnie did, and she went to emergency, and we know about the guy who passed away. But there must be, even in other parts of our community, other kind of situations that are happening from this. So I just feel like we should look at that resolution to get a perspective. And
Well,
then,
and also, it was written in 2009, right? And this is
no, it was written in 2012.
12, and this is 22. It's 10 years later, and they haven't done a thing.
Nothing. And
No matter what the
my
cost.
my final comments will be, for now, is that in 2009 it was finished. Right, we had, little did any of us know, there were only about 18 months where we could say anything to the people who laid the stones. Now, my neighbor explained to me that the original stones were made out of blue. It was called bluestone, and they came, this is how old they were. They came actually out of the ships that were coming into New York's port. When the stones, whatever they served on the front of the ship, when they were no longer used, they were sold to local cobblestone makers who used that stone to make all those streets that lasted way over 100 years. When we replace them, we're not using that stone anymore because we don't have it. So 18 months was the guaranteed time. And right after the 18 months were up, they all started splitting. Bruce Ehrman said that, it's Ehrman, right? He said that they weren't put at the right distance from each other.
But I have a question, Diane. Is it the material? Is it the stone?
I think it's a combination of the material, but this, this cost millions and millions of dollars.
Right.
The new stones that they created were, the materials different than the original stones.
But it may be the workmanship and not the stones.
We don't know, because as soon as we started talking about it after 2009, first of all, they didn't respond till after the deadline was over. And then that's when finally, by 2012, we wrote this resolution in the Tribeca committee, and nothing happened at all from that. So here we stand like 13 years later, or from 2012 to now.
10 years. Yeah.
I mean, it was put in 2009, but let's say by 2011 is when we started actually talking about it. And I remember saying, why should the city pay more money? Go back to the people who put them in and talk to them and say that the job's not holding. But that never happens, which made me very suspicious about why it never happened. So anyway, now we're at a point where I agree with, I think it was Lucian who said, or you said, that we don't really know what the problems are. We can only say what we're experiencing, but we do know that the stones are different. And we do know that some of our members said they think the spaces were different. And now we're hearing from the mayor's office, the last mayor, he says they're sinking. There's some kind of sinkhole. So we know there's certain inexplicable things that are happening that could be a bigger danger than just the cobblestones. I just wanted to add that. I think if we write something, we should say it's not just cobblestones that are flipping and flopping. It's like what's underneath. Is somebody's car or truck in it? Also,
that's why I was saying, can it be as simple though as
it can, but
stating that there's a problem, that we need them to go out and investigate.
We're using stones that are not as strong. We have trucks and other vehicles that did not exist 100 and something years ago.
I know, but what I'm saying to you is, can we, when I was asking Lucian and possibly Betty, can it just be as simple as,
yeah, it should be statements, I think.
We need you to go out and figure out what the problem is, because we don't know.
Right,
and
the time has come.
Right.
X amount of years have passed, and it's no longer acceptable for this to not be dealt with. That's
exactly.
That's
let me ask. Diane Stein had something to say.
Well, two things. At the last meeting, Diane Lapson said somebody mentioned, oh, people should walk at the crosswalk, but there are some streets like there's a small street called J Street, but there is no, the crosswalk is still cobblestone. And somebody said, the neighbor witnessed somebody tripping, some young person like almost falling, just trying to cross the street because there is no, those stones, like it's in some of the streets, they're in the what would be the crosswalk. And the other issue is, I've seen some articles like in Tribeca Citizens and some of the papers, and somebody said these, what we call cobblestones, are actually called Belgian blocks. And in some areas, the Americans for Disability, it's a violation. Some of the way the streets are violating the American for Disabilities Act. I'm wondering if that could also be, because somebody, people can't cross,
Yeah, we could probably put that in there. Let's see what Betty has to say.
Thank you, Diane, for introducing what I was going to bring up anyway. I want to remind people or let people know.
Betty, can you talk a little louder or turn your volume? Oh, I see that you're frozen.
I am.
Oh, did we lose Betty?
Can't hear me?
No, she's there. She's not frozen.
Okay. Can you turn your volume up a little bit?
Can't hear me at all, really.
Oops.
Betty, it's a little soft. We can hear you. You may have to just really speak up for it to be a normal level on our end.
Okay, now I'm kind of shouting. My neighbors will come in.
Yeah, something's wrong. All right, go for it, Betty.
Should I log out and try coming back?
I think she said, should she log off and try to log in again?
It may help. It may help.
Okay, we'll wait for you.
I don't know for sure. I'm sorry, but you try turning off your camera. Try turning off your camera. That may help. If it's a bandwidth issue, that may help.
But she did turn off her camera.
Well, now she did.
All right, Betty, give it a try. Give it a shot.
Like audible.
I think it's workable.
Okay. Well, then let
Go
me
for
try.
it, Betty.
I'm going to say that the repair of the cobblestones has been in the district budget for the last few years. So it's not as if nothing has been.
I can't hear. Why don't you go out and come back in again, Betty? We'll wait for you. Okay, great. Lucian, so in terms of, like I asked, did you start to write anything, or should we just dive in?
I think we should dive in. Pat.
Okay. Oops, I'm getting Diane Lapson. Yep. Diane is saying if you get out of the car, you can't. You could open your mic, Diane, and say it.
I didn't want, I thought, you need to hear from members first. No, I was just saying like this point that Diane said, where the guy from the mayor's office was saying people should be reminded to cross at the corners, which honestly was very laughable to think about the fact that he, even after someone died, to even suggest such a thing.
Very insensitive.
If you get out of your car, if you're driving, you have to get out on the cobblestones. What are you going to climb onto the roof of your car to get to the other side? And if you're on a bicycle, which we want people to be in the street, not on the sidewalk, everyone has to get off and go on the sidewalk, or they will fall down on their bike because the wheels can't go over the broken and big spaces, the divides. And the third thing is, I've seen people on motorcycles who had to get off their motorcycles and actually walk their motorcycles through the street, sometimes going on the sidewalk as well. So it's saying we should go to the corner to cross might have been like a cool thing for him to think he was saying at the time, but it's not always possible.
We're going to just ignore that statement.
Yeah, but I think, do you think it would be helpful to bring up any of the past documents, or we should just start from scratch?
Well, this is where we're going to have to get
all right, I'll leave that back to you guys.
Expert
Betty
advice.
was saying that for the last 2 years, they've had this on their.
Well, actually, Detta now has her hand up. Detta.
Okay. Yeah, I just want to. So I'm trying to give you a video too, but in Tribeca, those streets definitely, the crosswalks are still cobblestones. The crosswalk area of those, whether they're, what if we say they're not actually cobblestones, they're pavers or Belgian blocks. I mean, even at the crosswalk area, they are still those blocks. And yes, like if you're trying to go east-west, there's sometimes like 6 streets in a row that are cobblestones. So like a bicyclist has to, either use the sidewalk or, go further north or further south before they can get across. So, I mean, I don't really see anything good about keeping Belgian block streets, especially if they cost more and yet they're a lower quality street. But if there is, for reminiscent value or something, I would say
they're actually landmarked.
Okay. Well, I would say though, they need bike strips, and the crosswalk areas need to not be the Belgian blocks. The crosswalk areas need to be something, that people can walk on, that people can push their stroller on, that somebody who's mobility impaired can either use a wheeled device or a cane and walk safely. So I would just say if we are going to advocate keeping these street treatments, to also push for the bike strips and the changing of the crosswalk areas to something smoother. There can be something even just like pavement where you still paint a cobblestone design on it, or or concrete where you sort of stamp a very light imprint of something so it could still have a historic feel.
Sounds good.
And there
I
are
don't
a lot of examples around the city where they have added the bike strips to the cobblestone or the Belgian block streets.
Right. Listen, are you there? Is that just because the street, and then Mimi, I see you, and Mitch, I see you. Lucian, if the streets are landmarked, can we change the crosswalk material? Do you know?
I know that there are streets that are landmarked in Lower Manhattan, especially where the colonial grid still exists in FIDI. I am not certain that some of the Tribeca streets are also landmarked. I know that they're in landmark districts, but a landmark street grid is a different thing than a historic district for buildings. And as such,
Okay.
I can't be certain that there's anything that would keep the city from taking the cobbles out other than political will at this point. But I can be wrong. It's not something that I've looked into. I mean, I've looked into the historic grid some years ago insofar as some development that occurred and required LPC approval when they like the large building Stone Street, for example. Um, there were certain compromises that had to be made for that, but I don't suspect that anything other than political will is keeping those streets to be
Yeah.
cobbled at this point.
Because I fell off my bike on a cobblestone street, broke 2 fingers, and that was horrible. And
Wow.
even now I have a slight mobility impairment. When I walk, I can't manage on an uneven surface.
Right. Yeah.
So, they're very exclusionary, those streets, to a lot of
Exactly.
users.
Exactly. Actually, Mimi and Mitch, can you hold on because Betty's back? Betty? I see her name. Betty, you there? I think there's something
You
wrong
have
with
to
our
move her
unit.
it says move to stage. Is it possible she has no um
She's
video
in the
or
regular.
audio?
She's in the regular section, and she's unmuted herself. I just actually remuted her. Whoops, messing with it. She
I've been
should
having
be able
trouble with.
to. It says her camera. No, her camera's off. I don't know. There you go, Betty.
Just heard her.
Bob Schneck is an attendee.
All right, I'll grab him. Thanks.
No, I wanted to mention, and now been brought up, cobblestones. By most motivated.
She put it in the chat, maybe, if we can't hear her.
Here's a way to connect your phone.
Why didn't I just
I'm
not
not-
speak?
Well, we don't want to. We don't want you to be silenced. You can if you want, you can call in. I mean, I know you might be too frustrated, but you can also connect your phone's audio. But your audio is definitely not coming through that well.
Maybe just lean really
I
close
realized
to
I
the
was.
mic on the computer.
I realized I was muted. Betty, we want you to talk, so you want to try to phone in?
Or
Yep, the instructions are
Betty's
on
trying to.
live.mcb1.nyc. Sorry, Betty.
the numbers you have to enter.
All right, Lucia, maybe you can call her and talk her through it. And then meanwhile, Mimi.
Sure.
Sure. Yeah, I was sort of joking around with Lucian the other day about how I was crossing a street over by my hotel. I've been staying at a couple different hotels downtown as I look for an apartment since I work down here. And was this? I forgot the name of it. There's Moore Street over by like State Street or whatever. Moore Street. I stepped on. I was just like really struggling to walk on the crosswalk there that has the cobbles, and I stepped on a dead rat and it was disgusting, and I like almost rolled my ankle on this, but I didn't see it because it was like all the cobbles and it was a nightmare. And I complained to Lucian about it, and then I'm over here at 161 Front today, and Fletcher Street is just like so hard to walk on, and I know that these might be potentially landmarked, right? Is there a way that we can use the landmark designation to get them better maintained, to push for them to be of higher quality? Like they could stay cobbles so long as they're not nightmare cobbles. Is that a thing that we could do?
I don't know.
It also brings up the fact that there's many more streets than we're thinking about, because I don't think Front Street was on this list.
Right, but I think we should have two different issues. My suggestion is we have two different issues.
Oh yeah,
we could, we could have an overall statement that all the cobblestones in our community need to be looked at, but I think we need to concentrate on the Tribeca cobblestones from the 2009.
We can start with that.
So exactly.
What's interesting is that the real estate down here is so high that I hate to say this because this is not what I represent, but they owe it to these people who are paying millions and millions of dollars for lofts now to at least fix their streets. If they don't care about us since 2009, how could they take all of this money and tax money from these people and not give them at least safe, decent sidewalks and streets? Anyway, I'm shutting up now. My protesting is over.
Only for a little while. Mimi, you're done? Okay. Mitch? And
yes.
Then we have to, it's almost 8:00, so I think we need to either move on to the reso. But Mitch, go ahead.
Okay, I wanted to make a suggestion on based on some of the good points that Detta and Mimi just made, which I agree 100%. While it's nice and nobody would be, I don't think anybody is on face is against, something being landmark and keeping it, the culture of the last 100 or 200 years here. I would like to put in the reso, and you could word it however you want, that where safety is an issue, safety should take precedence. All things be, like if cobblestones can't be put in that are of better quality or safer, then the safety should take precedence over the landmarked. And so that's something that I like I said, it might be a high threshold, but I think that's something that we need to address, because when you have pedestrians, bicyclists, cars, and models in high heels all agreeing on the same thing, then I think that that's a pretty that's a slam dunk for that, So I would just like how you want to word it, but that safety, should trump landmarks. When
Don't use the word Trump.
Safer.
Okay. You didn't hear me. I said don't use the word Trump, but okay. Yes, we get it.
Wait.
We get it. All right, Jimmy's got his hand up.
Yeah, Mitch, I love you, but you have to be careful about this. I kind of follow what Mimi's saying. I'll tell you that Boston had a lot of these cobblestone streets, and they pay a lot of them over because it was hurting the BMW's suspensions and the Maserati suspensions. So be careful, because I think it's better for us to restore these landmarks to the highest quality possible, because a lot of people is going to be more than happy that we pay these stone streets over, because it actually hurts their car suspension.
No, that's plan A, Jimmy. I was just saying, if plan A can't work where you can restore them, then plan B is safety has to take precedence. But I'm for plan A, like with what you're saying.
Right. All right. So I think we had all our comments now. Shall we go on to the work of, what are we doing with Betty? What's going on with Betty?
I think Betty's not coming back.
Oh no, Betty.
She's on the
Right.
Not
screen.
going to.
Yeah, I
Maybe
see her
not
on the
going
screen.
to speak, but that's okay. What we're gonna do is I'm gonna see if we can connect and do some testing, maybe
Okay.
tomorrow.
All right.
Yep.
Yeah, we need Betty's voice. Um, okay, so should we just start with maybe bullet points? I don't know how do you want to approach this?
You know what? Why don't you all discuss what you want in the resolution, and I'm going to do my damnedest to get it together for full board.
Well,
Let's do it. Let's do
you
it.
said you might not be able to get it together for full board. So if you can't, then it
Well,
gives us
it's okay. Let's do what we can do. I mean, I have
okay.
the
So
list of
what?
streets. Let's, I have that there already.
I'm sorry. What
Um,
do you have there?
I have the list of streets that we
Okay,
identified before
and then
that
we
were
want to talk
botched. That
about.
were DDC projects that were botched in 2009.
Mhm.
And Mitch said that safety was, that we're solving for safety first.
And we talked about the bike strips from
The
Data.
bike strips
Mhm.
to make sure that crosswalks and where the bikes would be expected to be on the street aren't
Mhm.
murder for people who use those to cross.
We want to reference
Um,
back to the fact that we had a 2012 reso and that nothing has been done in 10 years.
we can do that.
We want to talk
Um,
about the fact that several people have fallen and sustained injuries, and one person, as a result of his injuries, actually passed away.
Passed away. Yep, of course, of course. Uh,
Um,
should we mention Mimi's dead rat? I'm just kidding.
the cobblestones killed the rat. Why don't we say that?
No, but that's yeah. And what else? What other pertinent?
I mean, it sounds like we
You
got
want to reference the Lucian? You have a copy of that that email also from the mayor's office when you guys went on that little walk, or that big walk rather. There's some points in there maybe that could be added in, like he discussed sinkholes. I don't know if he's right or not, but the question
Well,
of
I would definitely say that that we've spoken with lots of different engineers, and many have unofficially mused that there is very likely you know under subsurface issues contributing to the uneven condition of the roadways, thus pointing to even deeper problems than just aesthetic and safety conditions on the surface. So I
Yeah.
definitely think we're in. I think we're in a strong position to make that point as well.
Also,
Do you
do we
want-
want to?
Well, Jill here, one thing that was discussed, I guess at the last meeting, when the lady who lost her husband was here, was that in the other areas where they were laid differently have not had this problem. And I thought that was a key point. That there's other areas where cobblestones were laid after or repaired
Well, I guess we
after
want to
this.
say something, Jill, like, we hope they don't use the company that laid the cobblestones in 2009 and use a company. I mean, I don't know that it matters that the other streets haven't come up. It's a matter of who laid them, right? Right? That we need to have a company that knows what they're doing. Did I lose you, Jill? Oops. Am I muted?
no,
Did we lose Jill? We're losing everybody. There's
yeah.
something in I'm having trouble. I think it's something down in this area with our Wi-Fi. So I mean,
No, you still there,
who? Me?
Lucian?
I'm here.
Okay. There was one thought. I just had another thought while we're trying to get the other woman back. That all of our whereas all of our electricity and water and important pipes protecting them are right under these streets. That it's not just the surface that's the problem, but to protect whatever. I mean, if things start falling through, that's the end of our electricity and water and whatever they took years to
Our
replace.
utilities, our subsurface
So I would
utilities.
just say that it's also, it's protecting our utilities as well. Not just overside, but the underside.
Pat, what you said before, which is true about, not using the same company. The problem is, it's always try to go to the lowest bidder, and sometimes that's penny wise and pound foolish.
Right. So we just need to say we would hope that they would not go back to the same company.
Right.
The fact
Yeah.
that the taxpayers have to now pay to have these streets redone.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I'll put
Jill
something in
got
about.
knocked off.
Or maybe
you
word
might
it in
wanna-
a positive way, saying find a company that is an expert and knows how to do this.
Well, let me just say two things. Jill got knocked off, Lucian, and she's trying to get back in. That's number one.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
And number two, we have other projects that DDC has told us about that where they're going to lay cobblestones. So, we would hope that they're using a reputable company that will lay them properly, that they will be long lasting. And if that's the case, that maybe that they use the same company to repair these streets. But I don't think we can tell them how to do their business. I think we just have to state the issues and, see what happens. I mean, after
Have an article.
and we told them in 2012 and it's 10 years later and we still haven't gotten anywhere. So
Yeah, well, look to a vetted firm with a strong record in successful cobblestone street reconstruction.
Right.
And
any other
I'll also make sure that there's a budget angle here, because I think that's kind of like the hook that we're using right now. It's timely, and I think that's also one of the reasons why I'm realizing that it'd be better to move it this month, because we're going to get it in time to make I think a really big splash for the budget, for the city budget.
Pat, can I make a suggestion? And this has come up in for some of the other infrastructure things. When these big billion-dollar real estate companies build more of these, like 50-story buildings and everything, and they benefit from the infrastructure in the neighborhood, besides having to, I think some suggestions before, besides affordable housing, where they have to, put some money into the transit, the local subways or the local buses, things, maybe putting some suggestion in that they also have to contribute to some of the infrastructure on the streets there, which they're benefiting from.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we can do that, but
Okay.
I think that's a city issue. And when we negotiate for schools and things in these buildings, we're trading, we're asking for something and we're trading something.
Okay.
Anyway, yeah, I just don't think we can do that. Lucian, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think we can.
Okay, never mind.
Diane, Diane Stein, do you have your hand up again?
Yeah, I don't know if this is a budget consideration, but there could be opening themselves up to lawsuits. And there's a disability issue.
That's a good point.
Not just mobility, but also
Diane.
visual impairments too. If you can't see.
Yeah. I mean, Detta said she's still suffering from the injury that she's, and maybe we can put that in. That,
I would have liked to have heard what Betty had to say, but anyway,
Yeah, I know.
Diane
Jill
brought
is back.
Isn't there a law, like if you report a pothole, then the car can sue the city if it's already been reported?
Yeah.
So maybe using that type of law into what
Yeah,
Diane
I mean, we can
just
put
said.
that in there that these, as a result of these injuries.
If it's reported, if the street is reported.
Truthfully, my father, who was, a New York City cop, was one of the cops who used to investigate suits against the city when you would fall and break your leg because of a pothole or something. So maybe that can be put in there. Jill is back. Jill? Jill? Are you really back? I see your hand. I think she's only partially back. Jill? And Betty, no luck? Betty didn't try to dial in? All right. All right, Jill?
Jill wrote to the chat, I'm back and can hear you guys, but don't think you can hear me. No, I think that we're suffering from what could be kind of widespread audio
Yeah.
issues. It sounds like
So,
there's enough people who are experiencing audio issues that there may be something jacked up
yeah.
tonight.
So before we try to go any further, do you have enough information there to actually write a resume?
I do. I think we can put something together. I mean, I'll put something together and have it in front of you and Mariama as soon as I can.
Yeah,
Um,
where is Mariama? What happened? She was here.
she may be experiencing audio issues too, for all I know. Um,
I,
I
I see
hope that we
Diane
are able to get a vote in here.
now.
Yeah, I
Before
think we
we
should
vote,
probably do this
though,
before it degrades
Can I
anymore.
add one more
right.
point to the what you're
Yeah,
right?
Diane Lapson had one more point.
More point is that since 2012, when we wrote the first resolution, many more problems. It's gotten much worse. So over time, this is becoming more and more of an issue. And I think that if we do not do something about it now, a year from now or more, we're going to have real serious problems. When Diane Stein was talking about lawsuits, they've been fortunate up till now to only have a few, but it's getting worse. It's not settling itself in. So,
Right.
we have to
Right.
be like, we're trying to be, responsible by catching it before it gets even worse. That's all.
Right. All right. So at this point, Lucian's going to write the reso, and Mariama and I will get a
Well,
chance to look at it before the full board. But we need to vote on whether we all agree to this reso.
yeah.
Is everyone clear about what the reso is about, the points that we're going to put into it? Is everyone clear? If there's someone who isn't clear, let us know so we can explain it quickly. Is there
Yeah.
anyone in the public that had any issues?
So I think kind of in tune with some of these technical issues we're experiencing tonight. Betty let me know via text that she's in the attendee section, but
Yes.
I'm not getting I'm not able to see a dialogue for moving people over. Mimi, are you able to see that if there's attendees?
I don't see anybody in the attendee section. I just see Betty unmuted.
Well, that's what was happening with Diane Lapson.
In the regular
So
section.
we're having trouble.
So
So
Betty,
we
let me do
can't.
this. Let me try moving Betty to attendee and then see if I can move her back.
What
and
about
maybe
Jill?
we'll-
Because we need them to vote.
Lucian,
I'll
is there
do
any
it
way
for
to go back
Jill.
to the old WebEx? Because even though I'm okay on my phone, I can't use the computer anymore.
No,
For
I don't think we're gonna be able to go back to the old one.
Okay.
All
We're
right,
gonna lose
'cause-
people. So let's let
all right.
Lucian do what he needs to do so we can get a vote. I don't see Betty anymore, and I don't
No,
see
no,
Jill.
I moved her to attendee to see if maybe moving her back out of attendee will force the system to kind of reset
Reboot
her.
itself. Mhm.
Yeah, and then I did the same thing for Jill.
Betty,
So
any
Betty,
luck?
unmute if you can.
I don't know. Can you hear me?
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah.
So loud and clear.
Hey, welcome back. So
Well,
before we vote, what were you going to contribute? What did you want to say?
Well, actually, it was touched on by various people, but I want to say that while cobblestones were really meant for horses and carriages, vehicles can utilize them, but things have changed enough and they are very exclusionary. And I wish there were questions that the committee was going to use all the time about inclusion, because this is the least inclusive thing I can think of in our neighborhood is cobblestones.
And we should say that when we talk about the issue of whether they're, even if they are landmarked, we would like people to know that they are, excluding many people from being able to use the street safely.
Yes, in fact, somewhat at all. In that, I know Detta was saying, with the bicyclists, but if you look at people with stand-up scooters and other micromobility, they have small wheels, smaller than bicycles. It's impossible for them, which is why there really needs to be a very smooth crosswalk as well as bike strip. But there's a real problem. I go through, these roads are so hard on my equipment. They always ask me, why do you keep having to buy new equipment every couple of years? And I said, go to New York City streets.
Right.
I try to avoid cobblestone streets because my equipment breaks. And that's ridiculous.
And then
I
you're
can't
stranded.
even go in these neighborhoods.
Right.
That's not fair. They're talking about they should be fixed because we pay our taxes. I pay my taxes. I can't even go into these neighborhoods.
Right.
Maybe that's true. Maybe we should include in this list organizations from the city that deal with handicap in situations, because these are not areas that people can use.
Well, we're going to say something about it. I don't know that we need to, at this point, reference, sometimes shorter is better.
Yeah.
And if we say, that again, it's exclusionary, that it's safety issues, and that people with mobility issues, people, we say all of that because even I have vertigo, and even walking on those cobblestones is not always easy for just something as simple as having vertigo. So, and having to look down all the time. Um, so yes, I think we've covered it. Betty, anything else you wanted to add?
Well, no, I'm unclear on it, so I really want to hear that therefore be it resolved, because I think it's actually a very big point to say that because cobblestones are exclusionary of so many people in the community, that's an issue. It's not just repairing them, it's questioning how do we even fix it to have level enough surface for people to utilize, at a minimum, the crosswalks and a bike lane on every street that has cobblestones.
I'm muted. I think, very much we should stress that we are against cobblestones because they are exclusionary. And so if they are not landmarked, maybe they should remove them.
Oh, can you guys hear me now?
Christian? Yes, is Jill back? Jill, hi, welcome back.
Hi.
Yeah, we hear you.
I wanted to throw something out there in a devil's advocate way. Not that I disagree with anything that was said about cobblestones being exclusionary, but there is this charm factor, and there's people who live on those streets that may freak out or be upset, or people, on different committees. I don't know that will be the case, but I'm just throwing it out there as a devil's advocate to keep in
Oh, I
mind.
think you're absolutely right, and we'll have to fight it out.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if this resolution meets a lot of interest to amend.
Landmarks.
So everyone should be definitely very prepared to defend the merits of this resolution. But I think, to Betty's point, we should get a couple of the what are going to be the therefore be it resolved points. We should make those elaborated right now, and everything else will kind of feed into that. So I hear that one clearly is that these streets need to be rebuilt in their current state. They are a hazard, mostly for the human safety. That many people have been hurt and they have led to death. Even if indirect, and may lead to death directly. If someone were to crash a vehicle, whether bicycle, motorized vehicle, a mobility vehicle, because of the state of these roads. Second, it's very clear that there could be severe subsurface conditions, which make us concerned that there could be a failure of some sort of city service or other utility if they're in such horrible shape, and they need to be inspected and rebuilt for that reason as well. Also, I'm hearing that safety is of utmost importance. So for whatever decision the city makes, it should be to prioritize safety, but also that cobblestone streets are inherently exclusionary because they are, while charming, they do not permit those who are not able to traverse them easily for whatever reason, whether it's because of mobility issues, because they are in charge of pushing a stroller, because and we can elaborate on that. Betty, I can work with you on that. That people who fall into those categories are not able to use these streets to the same degree as anyone else, or how we expect someone to be able to use a street. Am I missing anything?
You know,
I think, can I say something? I think that I'm so happy the way you put the utilities situation. And when they replaced the stones in the first place, it cost the city a fortune for that job. I forgot the name of that job, but it actually had the name Harrison in it, and it was to replace the water system that was over 100 years old. But now, with the cobblestones being in disrepair, I wouldn't be surprised if the water that's dripping through is already speeding up the disintegration of what they've spent 5 years. Remember, that job was tremendous. They spent so many years replacing everything, but it's not going to last long if the cobblestones are not protecting the streets. Anyway, I just thought of that because that's another thing that the city's going to spend a fortune on if they have to replace it again.
Lucian, I'd like to add one thing that, but although it might be included in what you said, as far as the aid, the disability point you were making, maybe you might want to say if buildings and restaurants have to be ADA compliant to enter and to leave, then it should follow that this public street should at least have that same threshold, minimal threshold
point.
to be ADA
Good point.
compliant.
Good point, Mitch. Good point. Yep. Got it, Lucian?
Yep. I have this. I'll have this also on transcript, so I'm going to lift
It's
much of this language directly as I can because this is all gold, people, all gold. But you also have to vote.
Mitch, good point. All right, I think we got to vote.
Okay.
Again,
All
are
right.
you all clear on what we're voting on? Betty, is there enough there that meets with your approval to be able to vote? Did we lose Betty again? Oh no. Betty?
I don't think
boy,
you
Jill,
lost me. It's just,
Oh,
I'm not clear what the statements are, but I understand the general scheme.
okay. And you're going to work with Lucian to maybe tighten up some of the language?
I don't know.
Okay. Can we
Betty,
vote now,
if you're
everybody?
available tomorrow, I can give you a call.
And I'll be available after 3. Can we vote? All right. So I'm just going to start and we'll see where we go. Having heard what we heard, having contributed what we contributed, anyone against the reso? Anyone wants to abstain? All right, so I'm going to assume everybody is for. Yes? Okay. Lucian, got it?
Got it.
All right,
Thank you.
everybody. Before we go, anything that anyone wants to put on the agenda for next month? I see hands. Speak up.
So just to give you all a preview of what we have already in store, where we are going to pursue the subway homelessness policy. I will be reaching back out to Transit District 2. I'll also be asking the mayor's CAU, the community, what is CAU?
Oh God, Community Action Unit or Community
Assistance Unit. Oh my God, I don't know.
Anyway, yeah.
Community Affairs Unit.
Right.
Thank you. I had a brain for it. Community Affairs Unit to come because they're I've been told by multiple agencies that they really need to be the ones who do the lead on this. So I will have them in. I'll also ask the MTA to be around. They may be interested in hearing for themselves how this is presented. Also, we did ask DDC to come in this month to talk about the Manhattan Detention Complex. They said that there were no permits filed yet, or they didn't receive any permits, one or the other. Either way, the result is that there was no impending action. So they felt that there wasn't much to talk about. So they said check in next month. We're also scheduled to have our other DDC reconstruction projects come in and give updates as well. And just to give you a little preview, I think it might be our last time hearing from Worth Street. So just to give you a sense on that. So that's what we have on deck. And so back to you, Pat, on the generation of more stuff.
Okay, so we have quite a bit, but hands were up. Diane Stein.
Um,
I think you're muted.
Sorry.
Diane Stein.
A few months ago, we had passed a resolution about a Senate bill, supporting a Senate bill to extend screen injury. Apparently, I found out there's a new bill that's even more direct. And I believe, I wish John Scott were here and somebody, and a couple of other people on the Tenants Association who are knowledgeable about this. But I believe the new bill had passed the Senate but died in the Assembly. And I was wondering if the board could write either a letter of support or, I don't know, a new resolution supporting both the Senate and the accompanying Assembly
When
bill.
are they voting on it?
I don't, that's why I said I wish there were some other, I don't know the schedule.
See if you can find out, because if they are voting on it after our next month's committee meeting, then maybe we can. If they're voting on it before, it's useless then for us to. So why don't you find out and get a hold of Lucian and I and let us know?
Okay.
Terrific. I saw other hands. Anybody? All right. So I'm going to say, Jimmy, we haven't forgotten you. I don't know how to approach your topic more than just it being part of other discussions that we're having. So
Right,
if you come up with
talking
some.
about well, it's already with the homeless with the subway, right? So then, and that's good because it's pretty the similar model above ground as underground. And then I think that I'll make sure the discussion come up again when we talk about the jail because it could be a trade-off.
Okay.
Yeah, if they want the jail built, then open up Park Row and then also give us these Apple Store style homeless shelters.
So
Otherwise,
we'll keep
fight the jail to
revisiting the topic through other topics. You know what I mean? It will come up.
Yeah, little baby steps, baby steps.
Right. And if you come up with any other way to approach it, let us know. Okay. Because we're more than happy to keep bringing it up.
Sure.
Anybody have anything on rats, noise, dirt? We had our sanitation visit. We need to revisit recycling at some point. I don't know whether it'll be next month, but recycling will be back. I think that is just crazy that we don't have recycling for stuff that we have to take. I mean, my TV is huge. I can't carry that thing. So anyway, that's something else.
We're gonna figure that out, Pat.
I had heard that they stopped recycling during COVID. I'm not sure if they started again.
Yeah, she said they started again, but you have to take. You have to take
the electronics.
Yeah, and the only place that they'll pick up is in Staten Island.
Yeah. Well, so there's one little bit I wanted to let you guys know of a major issue that I'm working on. There's a very large building in our district that 20 Exchange Place lost or is in a kind of in a state where most of their elevators are not working. It's 56 floors.
Wow.
And there's something going on with their building where the elevators, the boards are getting fried, and there's like a surge in their electrical system. So they have to replace the boards multiple times a day. I heard about it at District Service Cabinet for the first time. And then I immediately asked all the elected officials' offices and Department of Buildings and Con Ed to stay after to fully brief me on this. So
couldn't that lead to a fire?
No, there's something going on. So Con Ed, the building is so old that the electrical system in it just snakes throughout the entire building, and so.
But that's what I'm saying. Couldn't it lead to a fire?
I don't know. I don't know if fire is something that they're worried about. I mean, I'm worried about all the tenants, 100% in general, because I'm not convinced that the management company has been able to contact every tenant. And people have to walk up, at the worst case scenario, 56 flights of stairs. So I alerted the New York City Office of Emergency Management, and the emergency management is. I'm going to be meeting them on Monday. They are talking to the management company, so there's an emergency plan in place. But next month I will report back on the state of this building because I'm tracking it now.
Oh, is it an affordable building?
I don't know
I doubt
offhand
it.
if there are affordable units in 20 Exchange.
20 Exchange, I doubt it. Yeah. Mimi has her hand up. And Mimi, before you say what you want to say, I just wanted to say that Mimi and I are working on public bathrooms in a task force. Is that what you're going to say, Mimi? Oh, okay, go for it.
We are working on a task force. Hopefully we can all use a public restroom where we don't have to wait in line because there's so many available. No, what I was going to say, and I don't actually know if it has anything to do with this committee or with anything. I just sort of wanted to kind of give you all an update on my apartment search. That it seems like there's a lot of scam apartment listings in our district on what's it called, Street Easy, and it's fascinating. Like I got in this weird email, but I don't really know what to do about it because I went to a building this morning and I was like, hey, is this a real listing? And they're like, no.
What about consumer affairs?
Is that something? Because it just, I mean, it's not like, oh, I can't find an apartment or whatever. Like I'm gonna sign a lease tomorrow. But there was a lot of just not good listings, and it seems that
When you
people
say
were
not
trying
good, though,
to
you
list
mean they were trying
buildings.
to get money out of you for an apartment that didn't exist, or
An apartment that's not actually on the market. So I went to a building and asked the doorman, well, two buildings, asked the doorman like, what's up with this listing? And they said that somebody lives there full time and they are not wanting to rent out their apartment, and that they have been getting kind of like harassed by people trying to rent this apartment. It's just been kind of weird. I don't know that we need to do anything. I don't know if we can do anything about it because
yeah, because unless they're trying to get money out of you, unless they're like really running a scam where they ask for money and you give it to them and to hold the apartment and the apartment is not vacant or doesn't exist. I don't know that we can do. I mean, Lucian, you want to jump in there?
Couldn't that be something for the AG, for the Attorney General, if they are trying to get money from a scam?
But she's not saying that they are. So
well, somebody did try to get money from, like, I have a whole email thing about some
that's the thing behind those things, that like the end result is they're going to try to get money. Maybe the first scam is not money, but then the follow, if the person follows up.
Let me just interrupt you, Mitch. It's late and people want to go.
Sorry.
So
anyway, it's just something that was on my radar. I figured I should tell somebody about
I think it's something we can talk about offline, and then if there's something that we need to do about it, sure, we'll bring it to the committee. So why don't you and I have a chat?
Sure. Yeah, I just wanted to be on the radar. It might be a thing.
Yeah.
Jill, what?
Yeah, from a affordable housing perspective as well, this is just a result of the rental rates in this neighborhood, and they're ripping off people looking for more affordable, not saying, cheap unit, but I'm saying more affordable units. This could be of interest.
Jill, next month, would you mind giving an update? You and Mariama give an update on World Trade Center number 5, just a quick update if you have any information.
It's always my pleasure.
Okay. Francis, do you have anything from a health perspective that you'd like to bring to the committee?
No, still haven't heard from the borough president's office about any follow-up task force or anything like that.
Now that everything's being kind of lifted with COVID, I guess they're, he's not
Yeah,
gonna...
but we still there's still issues. But one thing that I hope everybody else has noticed is that now the east side, we have COVID testing now, that we don't need it with these long lines. Everything was on the other side of Broadway, but now you're constantly on the east side now. So I don't know what that means. But since that whole issue is so fluid, I can't really, because today it's this, tomorrow it's that, and people are still at different ends of the spectrum. But if you have any concerns or hear anything or want me to, anybody, has anything in particular or have any other questions, please do, reach out, because
remember, everybody, Francis heads our health issues in our committee. So if there's anything
dealing with that, and Betty
and seniors.
Betty is going to
be sitting on the Lower Manhattan Presbyterian. I always get that title confused. Anyway, the community board meeting for downtown hospital.
Okay, so Betty, if there's any
So
time you ever want to,
Betty and
bring
I
anything to the
are,
committee.
we'll be doing that, and in terms of seniors, Pat, I mean, there are so many pockets of senior groups. Like
Mhm.
Pace has their senior group, Battery Park City, they have their senior group, Diane Latson, they have their so it's kind
Right.
of hard. I mean,
But I mean, if there's anything that
we
comes
don't have
up,
a
because
group here. Do we have a senior group here? I mean,
So
we know who we
there are a
are.
bunch of us
We
who are
know,
seniors who,
yeah, we
Yeah, the,
we know
the
who we
committee
are.
is the senior group.
Exactly. But we
Sorry,
we
Mimi.
we
Tom,
go
Mimi
to
and Deb.
those other places.
Jill, your husband was Tom was trying to get
Michelle.
seniors.
Well, Five World Trade Center, one of the goals, is to have a senior center for the whole community in Five World Trade Center, which would
Right.
really be a great benefit to bring all these different groups together.
Yeah,
Right. All right.
probably. Yeah. So anyway, moving
We're
right
throwing
along.
it
So
out there.
anyway,
So
anything come up with COVID or any other health issues that are Diane? Yes, I see
Just
your
like to,
hand.
I'd like to say that people, we know because we're activists that COVID is not over, and
Yeah,
telling everybody they don't have to, like in my building, the masks
yeah.
are off. And I know 3 people who, and one of them is a senior who got COVID last week
right.
just by going out to the supermarket now. So we have to remind everybody that it's still a very a serious situation,
Right.
Yeah,
and not to
that's
take,
true. Hmm.
not to just, and I know people who were vaccinated and booster and everything, and also got COVID. Some say it's like a cold, and others are very sick right now.
Yeah, yeah,
Everybody.
really, it goes
So I don't
to
care
it
what the
depends.
mayor and everyone are saying. We have to really be smart ourselves. That's all.
Exactly.
Well, I
All
think
right,
they're trying to
everybody.
change the messaging on TV,
Right. And they
which I am happy about it.
Doctor, what was our city doctor? He's no longer.
Yeah,
They let
he's
him go.
he's
Yeah.
leaving, but I can appreciate better the
Trust me.
message that he's giving in, yeah, because
Yeah.
they are actually talking about personal responsibility in terms of your health. Besides the
Okay.
fact that it's a virus and so forth and so
Right.
on.
Guys,
So
I hate to interrupt, but Lucian's
anyway.
got 2 little ones and he wants to go.
Can I make
So,
one brief comment?
oh, Betty. Mhm.
Since the Lower Manhattan, Presbyterian Lower Manhattan Hospital group met today, one of the comments that came out of all of the nonprofits that work, especially in Chinatown, is that they've hit kind of a brick wall in that the elders will not get boosted. And so if you talk to people, if there's any way of encouraging, if you have any feedback, I'd be interested in hearing it. This was a big problem that was reiterated by all of the attendees that worked with the Chinese community.
Okay. All right. That might be something you should talk to Vera about. She might be able to help in some way. She might have some insight.
That's a good idea.
And Jimmy left? Yeah, Jimmy might have some insight too to help, especially since Jimmy is a doctor, I believe, right? Lucian, Jimmy's a doctor.
Jimmy's
He's
a
plastic
doctor.
surgeon.
Right, yeah, so
Yeah.
he may be able to help. All right,
Oh,
we're gonna
wow.
go and let Lucian
Betty's a
go.
doctor.
I appreciate this committee so much. Diane, I hope
Okay.
you're gonna come back and join us.
Last
And-
last PSA for everyone. Don't leave. We're working with new guidance on whether we're going to be in person starting tomorrow or
right.
remote starting tomorrow, or staying remote. That's still something that we're working out tonight.
So we get the email in the morning, right?
So please do look out for email. I will make sure that you all get an email regardless, letting you know if we're going to stay fully remote, if we're going to go back to in-person hybrid for just the members and public members. So regardless, you have to look out for guidance from us, especially you chairs who have an exec committee meeting tomorrow.
Yeah,
Um,
wondering about
uh,
that.
so, and all members should look out not only just for the ones who are on environmental protection on Monday, but also for those who are planning on attending full board. We do have a location for full board. If we do go in person, it's Pace University. But if there's a very distinct possibility that will be remote until mid-April. So
Fingers are
just,
crossed.
yeah. So
I mean,
we'll
it
just,
makes sense. I mean, I don't know
Yeah.
why they're
I
really
just want to
rushing
ask
it.
Michelle. Michelle, are you there? Michelle?
See her.
I see her. You having trouble with her? Michelle, unmute. Hi, you there?
Yes, I'm here.
So how are you enjoying the committee?
It's good. I still feel like I'm just listening a lot to learn. It's a lot of catching up. I feel like coming in, in December and just trying to figure
Well,
things out. But
just remember, you don't have to do that much catching up. We want to hear your voice. If you have anything you want to contribute, don't feel shy.
okay, I will, I promise. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. We're glad you're with us.
Thank
Okay,
you.
everybody, have a great night. Go
Great
relax.
night. Happy Purim.
Night. Thanks, everybody.